Chug monkey.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 17th of November, 2019. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
It's not a shrug monkey.
And Robert Kemp.
I heard it as chug monkey. Like, was it chug? Well,
maybe it's a shug monkey.
Shug monkey?
Shug monkey.
That type of carpet.
Shug carpet.
Like
I think you'd want that.
A thick shug.
I was just listening to a documentary on Biggie versus Tupac or whatever, and they were talking about Suge
awesome.
Knight, who I wasn't aware of. Suge Knight or Suge Knight? Is it Suge Knight? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure his name is pronounced like that.
But it's sugar as in sugar, right? Which makes sense. But that's because apparently it's like they called him that because of his sweet disposition when he was young, but that changed.
And then he murdered everyone.
Yeah, he basically caused the whole problem, as far as I could tell from these documentaries. Because there was one, the story was just told on that Hip Hop Evolution. If you ever seen that on Netflix, it's a really good series.
I've heard of it, but no, I've not watched it.
It's great. It takes like 3 seasons to get to, East Coast, West Coast beef, because it goes through the entire history of hip hop really well.
Yeah, that's cool.
So recommend it a lot. And then I just happened to be listening to a podcast about it today, which was a podcast which was originally about Watergate and Nixon in series 1. And then the second series was about Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. And for some reason, the third series is about Tupac and Biggie. Because that makes sense.
Epic battles of politics. Tupac versus Biggie.
Political discussion there.
So I went out on Saturday and I caved into temptation and got an Apple Watch, smartwatch.
Ooh.
And I was just setting up they call them complications, right? I don't know what they are on your one.
Well,
but
the sort of gadgety, sort of
the little gadget widgets, yeah. So I added they're just widgets. So I added my podcast widget because I use podcasts a lot and I want to be able to control them with the watch on the go, which does work, although it's a little bit confusing, but it's what I wanted. Basically to be able to change podcasts without getting out my goddamn phone out of with my winter coat, and also to skip forward 10 seconds through the adverts without having to do all that faff. But anyway,
I don't have that because that's one of those things. It's another one of the podcasts are still one of those things on some phones that are like a second-class citizen. It's like I've got music controls, so I can technically pause it, I guess. But I can't like full on control a podcast.
That's one thing that Apple seems to have sorted
for podcasts.
I don't understand why there isn't a built-in like does Android. I don't know.
There is an Android podcast app. Like last time I checked in, like it wasn't actually out of beta or something like that. Like and it wasn't available in the UK yet. So I'm using a third-party tool.
Yeah,
called Podcast Addict.
I think most people use a third party. I'm going to ask my brother what he uses. It's probably the same one you do. But it's definitely a case of trying to find the right app on Android for podcasts. There are good ones. It's not like there aren't good ones.
Oh, yeah. But Addict has been pretty good. It's like it's taken a while to, like, the version I was using originally was a bit pants, but it's got better over time.
So, yeah, I have this widget on my watch face or whatever, my beautiful new watch face or whatever, but it shows the name of the current podcast. So currently, whenever I look at the time, it says, "What's Beef?" Because the name of the third episode of this series about Tupac and Biggie is "What's Beef?"
What's beef?
Which makes sense in context.
What's beef?
But it just says "What's beef?" and then around the clock face. So anyway,
just when you say these complications, are they like bits on the watch face? Then they're they're not like other panels.
No, so the complications are like widgets on the face itself. So obviously they're tiny.
Weird.
And different.
Doesn't that get real cluttered?
Well, it can. It depends which face you choose. So if you choose you can choose a face where the time is just digital and just in the corner, so you can fit tons of these widgets on, or you can choose a face that's more of an actual watch face and there's less space for these widgets. And each of the faces show them. So there's different style. It's pretty cool actually. So there's different styles of the widgets. So for instance, I've got a face which is, a classic analog watch face. And there's space. You don't have to have widgets in all the spaces available, but this one has spaces in all 4 corners and in all 4 like in an across shape inside the dial. Does that make sense? So you could put 8
sort
on
of.
there. You could put one in
I
each
see.
corner and like left, right, top, and bottom inside the dial as well. But they're different styles. Like the ones in the corners, they actually can show information like curved around the watch, the clock face.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
That's kinda cool.
and the ones in the middle are little circles.
Which is equally sort of weird, given that it's a square watch.
Yeah,
Well, it's because it's the analog design of a clock face, and then they're like, well, we've got all this blank space to fill.
yeah.
So
So
that's
it
where we
fills
can
up
fit
spaces.
widgets.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
Exactly,
So I get
yeah.
it now. It curves around the extra corner space.
yeah. So
Cool.
it's pretty cool. And so if you're interested in my stupid Apple Watch, I have.
I mean, no, because I'm Android. Sod your watch.
I've got like weather in the top left corner, podcast in the top right, tasks, my task thingy in the bottom right, my kind of daily goals thing in the bottom left. I've got the date in the middle right, and now I've got a timer showing me the time on this podcast in the middle left. But I've got 2 blank spaces where I could put more shit if I could be bothered.
I've just done a search on the Samsung store for like watch apps for the Galaxy Watch for podcasts. And the first things it comes up with is just a straight up whole player called Das Podcast.
Right.
And it's
For
like, that's
the-
not
for
actually
the
that
watch.
helpful. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the player lives on the watch rather than.
Well, that's the
talking
thing
to it.
that's the thing I have found slightly confusing about the podcast app on the watch is it's sort of set up so that it can play directly from the watch, but then I don't really care to do that. So it's like,
No.
you haven't got any headphones connected. It's like, I know, it's because they're connected to my phone, and then you have to
just
select
play it on, the phone,
my
please.
phone, which does work. It's just I'm just learning how to use the interface to do that effectively. At first, I was like, "Oh shit, this doesn't do what I actually wanted," but then I found out it does. It's just slightly annoying.
Yeah, it's just not as obvious as it should be.
Yeah, it wasn't fully obvious, but I guess it's quite hard to make a nice UI on a tiny space.
It is, especially when you're having to actually use your hands. It's like then or your finger to touch the
Hat
screen.
fingers.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, the
I know
Apple
you've
Watch
the
has got a
I know you've
little
got
dial
the
thing,
wiggly
but
bit. Yeah.
yeah,
And
but
as I say, that's the thing I like the most about the Galaxy Watch is the wiggly dial. Like
Yeah.
the whole outside of the face rotates.
oh, the whole thing rotates. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
better. Well,
That's-
definitely
that's-
better, I would say, probably than
It's pretty cool.
the little digital crown.
Yeah, that's the
called?
word. Yeah.
Crown. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool so far, but I'm getting used to it. I mean, you've had a smartwatch for a while. Rob.
Yeah. Well, not a non-fitness smartwatch, I suppose. Yeah, I like them. They don't change my life per se, but every now and then,
No.
I see something that I wouldn't have otherwise seen. Yeah, that's the thing for me. It's like I want those
Yeah,
notifications.
exactly
I want
that.
those- If
I think
someone's
that's the
calling
biggest
me,
thing because
I can
the
see
little
it.
tap on the wrist is. I'm really bad at noticing a vibration alert in my pocket. I miss them
Mm.
all the time.
But just wait like a couple of years and you'll customize to the watch, and then you won't notice that any longer either.
Do you think? I don't know. It's
No,
pretty...
it hasn't happened to me yet.
It's
Yeah.
slightly less like obscured. It's only because of like the way your pockets and the fabric of your clothes hang
Yeah.
against your leg. That's why it like dulls the vibration
It does.
of
Yeah.
phones. Whereas at least the watch is in direct contact with your skin.
Yeah.
So you'll adapt to that less.
I
I'm
hope
just
so.
going to make sure my 2 cups of coffee that I've had today are correctly logged on my watch.
Oh, is that what you use it for? That I haven't got into
I've
any
got
of
a
the
coffee
tracking
widget.
stuff yet. Although it is a little bit creepy if you don't. I went for a walk today, and it like gives me a tap on the wrist, and I'm like, well, who's texting me now? And it's like, it looks like you're going for a walk. It's like, oh, great.
Oh yeah, this does
Yeah.
that as well. Every now and then
Yeah.
it will say like it was after you've walked for like a while. It's not like it's immediate.
No.
It'll buzz, and I'll look at it, and it goes healthy pace. And it's
Yeah,
like, great,
good
cheers.
pace. Good pace. It's like, yeah, I was doing
That was
what
a
I've...
great walk. to Morrison's.
This is what I've always done. Stop congratulating me on being normal.
Yeah,
quite
there's
weird.
definitely a bit of that.
Yeah, so I might have to. I'm giving it a fair chance. Like I was like, okay, you can track this one, and I'll see if it's interesting. But if not, I'll turn it all off.
The bit to me that will be interesting is like, does it actually work as a fitness watch?
Yeah,
because this works as a fitness watch, but it's not as good as a pure fitness device. Like, it's noticeably not as good. Like, sometimes the GPS is all off, and it's like, it's not Garmin quality. It's as good as it is at being a smartwatch, as a fitness watch, it has problems. So it's like, it'll be interesting. Like, if you get back to running, hint, that how it pans out. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested. I didn't get the cellular one, which is completely independent of the phone, because I was like,
it's bonkers money, isn't it? As well.
Well, no, it's another £100.
Yes,
which is like
that's a lot of money.
Well, I think so, but like, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't bother. I've gone running with my phone before, and it's been completely fine. My phone is waterproof, and like I put it in a little like belt thing, completely fine.
For fitness tracking, you tend not to want to pick up the phone anyway, right? I just want GPS. I just want to go running. It's fine.
Yeah, why would you need it? I guess it has GPS without the cellular.
Or if you broke a leg or something.
If you fell off a cliff.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I don't know if you can use the Apple, because I can use the Apple Pay, which is quite good when you're running, because then you don't need to take your wallet.
Oh, right. No, you don't. I don't think you actually need cellular for that. No,
really?
Because I've got Samsung Pay on my watch, and it just stores what you need for RFID on that. Like all it's really doing is it's sending an RFID signal, right?
Yeah, just like the card.
So there's no actual communication from your card to the net, is there?
So in that
your
case,
watch only has to mimic that.
I'd have no problem going running without.
No, you could stop for a coffee halfway.
Yeah, and I could buy things on the way back, and I could get music because it could play music. Although it can't play Spotify yet. It has an app for Spotify which controls Spotify on your phone, right? But it you can't play Spotify directly from the watch.
I don't think there's one for this either.
But I could probably,
But it's only got a tiny amount of. That's not what I use my watch for. I'm not playing music from it. It's only got a tiny amount of storage space on this thing, so it's.
I just quite like.
It's not what I'm after.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't be able to stream it because if you have the cellular, then you could stream, and you had Apple Music, you could go out.
Oh sure, yeah.
Without the phone, and you could stream music. Yeah.
Your phone, unless you're talking into your watch like a spy.
Yeah, well, you completely can. It's quite freaky how well it works. Like the Siri works, you can just put the phone up to your mouth and speak in it, and that's all. It turns on. You don't have to say "Hey Siri" or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that explains why Rob's thing keeps activating all the time.
Mine hasn't done it for a really long time, and that's good. Like whatever they tweaked, it's like Bixby just hasn't woken up for a while, so that's good because Bixby's rubbish. And I can't get Google Assistant on this thing because it's not technically an Android watch.
I've used, even
which
without
is the one
the watch,
thing that sucks.
I've already said this, but I've used Siri way more once I found out you could stop it from talking to you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So once I turned off it so it doesn't talk back at all, it just gives you. I've used it way more on my phone, and now I'm going to use it on my watch in the same way. You just you just speak to it, give it a command, and then see the acknowledgement on the screen. It doesn't have to say, "Okay, doing that for you" or any of that bullshit. It just I don't want to hear you speak. I just want to talk to you.
Don't want to hear you speak until we can change the voices.
Well, yeah. I guess. What would you have?
Do what Gnome does and make it Irish.
You make it the Star Trek computer, obviously.
Yeah, is there a voice print of what's her name? It's Gene Roddenberry's wife, isn't it, who did the voice of the computer?
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I think so. Didn't she play Luxana Troy? I can't remember.
Don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gnome sets her iPhone to Irish mode just because he likes how it sounds.
That's a good
idea.
idea.
For like sat nav or something, especially. Turn right.
Is it really that extreme?
It has got an accent.
It's got a twang. Awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Actually, genuinely. Awesome.
End of the road. Turn left.
Speaking of different voices, I'm making a vague attempt to turn this podcast towards what this podcast is about.
Why?
What is that?
It's early.
I don't understand.
But like, I was watching a YouTube video of Smash Bros. Highlights, as I have been quite a lot, and it was a highlight of, I think it was like projectile play,
Right.
so all the projectile characters. But one of the characters that comes up a lot in like the high tier, surprisingly, is Wii Fit Trainer.
No, right, okay.
And the
This is
football.
The football
It's quite ridiculous if you know how to use that well. But like what that video showed me, which I'd sort of already realised, but when you see a lot of clips in a row of Wii Fit Trainer, the American version of Wii Fit Trainer's voice sucks. It's so bad.
I suppose I've never really thought about.
No, and there's no way you can you can go into the language settings, but you can't set it to American. That option doesn't exist. It's literally a region locked thing, I guess.
Okay. Because they're normally pretty hot on that, right? In Smash Bros, they'll put like the variants in there.
Yeah, but like,
except for Terry, they just put Japanese Terry in.
Well, sure, but that's because that's how he always has been.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
Bow Wow Wave.
But like, yeah, if you want, it's mainly one of her like getting hit noises in the US version. She just literally says "ouch."
Ouch.
Well, a bit more dramatically than that, but it's a terrible sound effect.
Ouch.
I mean, the English one technically isn't much better than the English version of that same sound effect, but it's not literally saying "ouch" at least.
Ouch. That makes me want to hear it or have it, because that sounds funny.
Yeah.
That's like setting a me to the board voice, right? It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Or just anything that sounds a bit like Mr. Saturn, I'm on board with.
There's all the Mr. Satins. You have to only play Peach.
Yeah.
So yes, video games.
Video games. Segue.
And then news, I guess.
Do you want a film section before we do games?
Is there a film section? Oh, wait, no, I suppose there is, but not for films that we've technically seen yet.
There's a TV section.
Yes and no. Yes and no. There's a film I saw that I want to shout praises for. Le Mans 66.
Oh.
It's really, really good.
Oh, shit. I need to watch that. Okay.
It's properly decent.
Excellent. So, yeah. Tell us about it.
I mean, it's about like Le Mans 66, where the
Ford versus Ferrari
race. Yeah, that's what it's called in America. Like, we've got the better name,
right?
So yeah, if you search for it, you'll probably come across Ford versus Ferrari. But it's like, no, we called it Le Mans 66 because it's a better name.
And it's Matt Damon and
Matt Damon and Christian Bale.
Christian there.
Christian Bale. But he's very British in this film because Ken Miles was quite British.
Yes.
It's just an incredibly well put together thing. It's like it's weird because like it paces itself at the start almost as if to say, "Oh, hey, this is a film about the race, but it's not really about the racing."
Sure.
Which started to rub me the wrong way a little bit after a while, and it's like, "Oh, you're skipping over some elements of it."
This is skipping over some parts of this 24 hours of racing.
Well, no. It's before you even get to the actual race that Ken Miles was in. Was it because they basically do Le Mans 65 in it as well, but it's heard over the radio.
Oh.
So it's like you don't actually see any of what's going on there, and I was a bit like, "Oh, is this going to be how this is what this film does?" It's like more about the people than it is the actual.
We couldn't afford to make footage of cars.
But then in the second half of the film it's just all like, "Oh right, okay, no, now we're doing it. Okay, you were just readying me, I suppose, or like leaving the best to last and stuff." And then you get a lot of it, and it's great. And it's I don't know. There's a couple of things that strike me as contrivances about how racing works,
right?
But like just the way it's like shown on screen at times, like cars next to each other, like keeping nose to nose down a straight and stuff like that, and
in
just
Le Mans,
maintaining that in Le Mans, which doesn't really happen all that
F1,
much.
Maybe,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of that, and also every now and then I did think to myself, oh hey, they're doing that thing with the audio where like engine noises always have to be increasing in pitch no matter what you're doing. But then there are some times where they get it right, and it's like so it sort of flip flops sometimes between like not great audio and very accurate audio, and it's like, okay, cool. No, I can let that go. It's fine. I can. It's weird that I get hung up on stuff like that. It is, but it's just like, because it doesn't really affect the film at all. But it's just like I just noticed these things. But it's like but yeah, no, it's just really well played. It's a good story. It focuses on the right elements of it. The interesting sort of, it's not just Ford versus Ferrari. It's mostly Ford versus, well, Shelby versus Ford for half of it, which is great.
Right. Yeah.
It's very well made. It's a very I'd say it's a very rosy version of that history, but
yeah,
well, obviously
because it's a film.
Yeah,
but it was exciting. You know, when it gets to the end, you're sort of you're there. You're in the you're as interested as everyone else. It's on screen. It's properly decent. Might be my film of the year.
Ooh, you haven't seen Star Wars yet, though.
I haven't seen Star Wars yet, but
oh god.
But I will reiterate, it's probably my film of the year.
Have you seen The Mandalorian episode 1?
I have not, because where is that? That's Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, it's Disney Plus. Yeah, which of course I bought and paid for in full, as if no, it's not even available to buy in Britain yet. So no, I didn't do it, but I did watch it.
You have seen it by me.
I've seen it somehow mysteriously. There's an episode 2 I'm going to watch tonight. I am intrigued so far. I mean, it looks amazing. Look, it looks better than the films, to be honest, in some ways. But like it's all set up so far, but like in a stylish way. It's clearly trying to do spaghetti western in particular in space.
But that's cool.
Like Man with No Name, basically. Man with No Face, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That must be weird, right?
So far, he hasn't taken off his mask, so I'm wondering how far they're going to go with it.
Master Chief.
Basically, I mean, if they pull it off, then it'll be the template for how you can do. Like, can you think of anything starring a character where you don't see their face?
V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
You never see Hugo
only
Weaving
co-star
underneath.
Technically for most of the film.
Oh no, he's okay. I guess you could argue Natalie Portman's character is the main, but
and he's not always the focus. There's a lot of other political crap that goes on in that film.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, you never see Hugo Weaving under the mask.
No. That's a good shout. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see how it develops.
I was about to say Watchmen, but you see Rorschach take his mask off eventually.
Yeah, you do. When he's in prison, he's got his mask removed.
Yeah, for that whole segment. Apparently, that show's good as well.
Yeah, I heard that was good.
The HBO Watchmen. I've got it recorded from Sky Atlantic, so I'll try and convince Noam to watch it at some point. I'm watching Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime at the moment.
Oh, I watched the first episode of Jack Ryan the other day and was put off a bit. It seemed a bit generic to me, so I was like, I haven't continued.
I would give you that. Yeah, it's fairly generic, but if you kind of want a bit of that, it's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it was well done, and it's good. Obviously, there's good talent in there. Like I love Wendell Pierce from The Wire, of course, and the main guy, like he's good, and like and it's good pedigree. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is a good cat. Good.
It's a generally good character. Yeah.
Good character to make stories out of. It's just I was like, this is kind of sort of sub Homeland 24 level kind of stuff. When I was watching the first episode, I was like, not really.
Yeah, I think it does improve. Like it's one of those shows where I think it was, at least in the first season, it was better in the middle of it.
Right.
Like I don't really like the last episode of season 1 particularly. It's sort of one of those, without being spoilery, it's kind of one of those like bad guy big plays.
Yeah.
That just seems to be thwarted,
Right. Yeah.
It's like they go, you just solved that. Okay, great. But it's not. I'm not sure it's solved in a particularly satisfying way. But all the stuff in the middle is quite neat. It's as you said, it's kind of boilerplate stuff, but it's well made boilerplate, and I can deal with that while I'm eating my lunch.
Yeah, sure.
Fair. So yeah, working on season 2 at the moment. It's I think season 2 has been a bit more interesting so far. Like, it started stronger, I think. But it does the weird thing of like almost forgetting that the first season happened.
Yeah.
Right. It's like there's what's his face, Jack and Greer. Obviously, their relationship has been set up in the first season, but it's like so that's a thing from the off. But it's like there were some, there were some people and some relationships that are obviously not a thing anymore, that they've just not talked about. And it's like, all right, what happened? What happened there? Just not going to deal with that. Couldn't pay the actors, or they weren't available, or something like that. All right, fine, moving on. It's got like Noomi Rapace in it as well.
I know, it's a good cast.
It is a good cast. And I've been sort of tempted to watch there's this other Prime show that I haven't seen anything about, but the concept of it on its own just made me smile a little bit. It's called Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like Jean-Claude Van Damme has been a cover all this time. He's really a spy. Like the actual Jean-Claude Van Damme that we all know. It's like that's his alter ego. For being a super spy. It's really dumb.
Just dumb enough to be
fun. Every film he does, though,
where
he is just Jean-Claude Van Damme, but then it's like, but he's actually also this other thing.
Time cop.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that was his like Coors Light adverts. He was just Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, that too.
He's like a chef aboard a battleship.
But secretly,
a ex-SEAL or something. Team 6 member. And Tommy Lee Jones is like, why did he have to be the chef on my ship? That was Jean-Claude Van Damme, wasn't it? What is that film? Where Tommy Lee Jones takes over the Iowa-class battleship and fires nuclear tomahawks at Hawaii.
I don't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen it. Yeah. Whatever it is.
It's probably called just... No, I was going to say it was probably called Battleship.
No,
but it's not that one with
Riri.
Riri, yeah.
A Michael Bay extravaganza.
Yeah.
Not that. It's not that. Anyway, yeah, Le Mans, good film.
And then the other film news.
Yeah. Let's talk about those Sonic trailers.
Oh, yes. Vital. Yes. Go on, then.
It looks good now.
It looks good.
Good enough.
Yeah.
It looks good. I actually kind of want to see it now.
The rest of the film's plot remains the same.
I mean, it's a kids' film.
So it's like weirdly... But you have to hold this to account that the first trailer must still count, right?
Yeah.
Like
all those scenes are still going to exist.
Yeah,
presumably.
Sure.
And I think that's the bit that without the crap. Here's the thing, right? The crap Sonic made this film more interesting.
Yeah, it did.
Because he was so scary looking and so weird.
So
this whole thing.
up.
You see, now what I'm left with is a weird, an uncanny valley in my mind, where Sonic now looks acceptable.
Yeah,
but his attitude doesn't seem quite right to me. I don't know. There's something about how he's been written that doesn't feel like
he
Sonic
was like performed even looking at the old insane looking Sonic. Like,
I don't know about that.
I don't know if it's been that way around.
Acting you could do for that old Sonic. what character would you have developed for that?
He would. Yeah, no, he'd have just permanently just been kill me, kill me, kill me. I mean, I think the trailers they've put out are better trailers than the first one was.
Also,
just in structure, right?
Yeah,
as well. Like but
like Jim Carrey looks funnier in now.
Yeah,
or whatever.
It does.
As Robotnik.
Also, the fact that they named him as Robotnik.
Did
they do that in the first trailer?
Eggman. Yeah, he is. He's always been Robotnik in this film.
Okay.
I don't know who made that decision, because presumably whoever's making this in America with the nostalgia is overruling
the originals.
Yeah, it must be overruling.
Well, it's because it's not Eggman, right? That's the whole kind of the whole point. Because he is just a human. From Earth.
He's not become Eggy yet.
And he's not
going to.
Yeah, presumably.
Yeah, he's
not actually the enemy of Sonic from Sonic's universe, otherwise known as Eggman.
But they'll never bring up Eggman.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We never really knew where the only human on Mobius came from.
But is he a human though?
Well, I guess we don't know.
I know. I mean, if you you go into Rush and you have Eggman Nega, he exists in Blazer's universe somehow. So maybe this is just the real, like, the Earth version of Eggman is just this guy.
Speaking of Eggman Nega, because that's just triggered a Nega Scott memory in my head. Scott Pilgrim's getting a board game.
Okay.
As in the comic?
Yeah. It's called Scott Pilgrim Miniatures the World.
That's
Okay.
not a great name. I think
No,
they
it's
could have
not.
come up with something slightly better than that.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Well,
The Scott Pilgrim versus the board.
It could be great if you're taking down the corporate elite.
Yeah, clearly.
yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
The board. We'll come back to the board later.
Okay.
Sonic could actually be okay.
I mean,
Good trailer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I still think it's going to be
I think
potentially
it will
a car
be
crash,
acceptable.
but like,
Well,
yeah.
I think it will be on the level of the actual
they still-
games.
Well, better than Sonic Forces.
yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
yes. Okay, yeah. I will give you that. I think we can come out of that cinema going, yeah, it's better than Sonic Forces.
They
Better
start
than Sonic 06.
even in those new trailers, it's still like there's no hint of what the actual story is. It's just like we're doing comedy things in various places.
Well, no, I don't think there is much plot
Well, no.
outside of, hey, Sonic's got this teleporting ring thing, and his speed set off some sort of power surge at some point, and then it was like, ooh, energy source. Robotnik wants some of that, maybe.
Yeah, but then like, what does Sonic want?
Actually, no.
That's the actual question, right?
Yeah, why is he
He's got
here?
to save the world.
Well, no, but why
But
is?
from what?
Did they say why he's on Earth and not Mobius?
No, I don't think so.
Did he just get lost here or something, and he can't find his way home?
Start Sonic X. Chaos Control.
But the rings are the teleporters. Now,
Well,
right?
sure.
Or the ring.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
It's a special stage ring. He's found it, and he kept
And
it.
it's Portal now.
Yeah,
Helpful.
he could just send all those missiles into the special stage, blow a path to the Chaos Emeralds. Or maybe that's why he's got to keep it secret, so Robotnik doesn't get his hand on.
The Chaos Emeralds.
The
As
Chaos
always.
Emeralds,
Probably. That's
That'll
probably
be
what the
that'll
power
be the
sword
sequel.
actually is.
I reckon they won't talk about Chaos Emeralds at all in this one, and then that'll be the secret. Like there'll be the stinger at the end, or just be this green glow.
The stinger will be literally the game over screen from every other Sonic.
Yeah.
Not the game over, end of game screen.
The
where it's like,
bad
now
one.
Robotnik has those Chaos Emeralds. That would be quite good.
That would be really interesting, actually, if they did that.
And a really helpful way for them, like a pre-made way for them to set up a sequel. Like, it's just like the game. You do it again, but now you have to get the Chaos Emeralds.
Time travel. Jean-Claude Van Damme will be in it.
Yep, time cop.
Time card. He'll still be in a duffel bag at some point, claiming to be stealing a child.
Yeah.
That's still going to happen, don't forget.
They didn't even have to re-render that scene.
No. No work required. It's impressive how much they've actually managed to achieve,
Yeah.
really. And it still looked okay. I wonder how many odd...
Yeah.
Like, how much, like, between the characters, like, physical object being handed between characters, do you think they actually had to do? I bet not much.
No, probably not.
Probably
So
not.
they probably looked at it and thought, yeah, this is probably alright. We can make this work. Apparently Yuji Naka's still not 100% happy.
Well,
Because he's like, you didn't join the eyes together, what are you doing?
yeah, well.
He's got
It looks
one
fine.
big eye.
Like, that's my design, god damn it. But
Yeah.
I'm sticking to it.
It's totally fine now. I guess, yeah, it's fine. But I mean, obviously, if this would have been the first one to come out, fans would have been nitpicking. But now it's just so much better that it's like, why even? Yeah,
You can get away with two eyes when it's much better than the original version.
yeah.
Blitzkrieg Bop as well.
Oh yeah, good
Well,
music
Not
as
Gangster's
well.
Paradise.
Yeah, that's an improvement.
Gangster's Paradise. It's just such a not fitting. I don't.
For a children's movie,
I just
also.
don't. I don't understand what made them think that was a
Well,
good
how
idea.
does Blitzkrieg Bot go? Shoot him in
Yeah,
the
that's
back now.
also not technically great for children.
No. Blitzkrieg Bop. Well, they don't have to play that bit of the audio, do they? All they need is the "Hey ho, let's go," and then it's like, well, that's Sonic enough. It's going.
The best remote song for that kind of stuff is "Beat on the Brat with a Baseball Bat." Oh yeah, it's a song about beating someone up.
Or perhaps I should have played that during the scene where he's playing baseball with himself. Actually, Ramones the movie secretly. This is the thing, like the music in the film, probably all going to be rubbish orchestral, right? It's like there needs to be Michael Jackson infused.
I don't know if it's going to have that much music, to be honest.
I mean, they'll have music all the time.
I don't think it will.
Most films have music all the time
probably
in some
will have
form.
quite a lot. Yeah. Right. Indeed, Sonic's coming. Look busy. Video game news.
Video
What of it there
games.
is.
Well, I mean, XO19 happened. That's a chunk of stuff.
Is there much to talk about on that list, really?
Well, all right. I've made notes on almost everything. A couple of things I skipped. Like Sea of Thieves updates.
Except that's in this list.
Oh, is it?
Apparently you didn't skip that very much.
All right then. Maybe I just wrote everything down and decided to skip it later. Maybe that's how I rolled out. Right, what we got? Rare are making a new game.
That's also Sea of Thieves updates, apparently.
And also Sea of Thieves updates, yeah. It's called Everwild. It looks like a forest with animals in it. And a deer-like creature that looks somewhere between a Pokemon and a flower. Because it's like mane fur opens up like a flower.
You mean literally the Pokemon that is a deer that has flowers on it?
I mean, a flower from the face?
Not from the face.
I think it was more like a legend. There's like a legendary Pokemon that has like spikes down its neck, right? Or like spiky mane-like thing.
There's probably a lot of Pokemon that have spiky mane-like things.
Okay. I think it's one of the ones in Smash Bros. If that helps. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, there's Go-Goat as well, I guess.
Go-Goat.
The grass goat.
I don't think it's
That's
that.
not flowers, though.
I don't think it's that.
Deerling is the actual Pokemon. That is a deer that's covered in plants. Actually, it's even got different seasonal forms. It changes for the 4 different seasons.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't really say what the game is about in terms of gameplay. It showed like what looked like maybe a mum and her kids potentially sort of wandering through the forest, being sort of reverent to like, oh hey, this looks like nature. Maybe it's Pokemon Snap.
Like Rare Amazing Pokemon. Yeah, or maybe they're just going to use their Connect technology again, and it's going to be like Connect Adventures.
Connectimals.
yeah. Combine Connect Adventures and Connectimals.
And Milo, a good measure.
That wasn't Rare though, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was Lionhead.
Oh yeah, that was.
And Connectimals
Peter
wasn't rare either. I don't know who made Connectimals.
Wasn't it?
No. No, Rare are busy making Connect Sports.
Oh right, yeah.
Actually, did Rare make Connect Adventure?
I think so.
They
did that first and then Sports, right?
Well, they both came out at the same time.
Sports came out slightly later.
I think Adventure came with the Connect.
Yeah.
And then Sports was like the launch game that you could get if you wanted as well. Something like that. And then they did a second one, didn't they? And then a third. There were 3 Connect Sports games because the third one was on Xbone. Connect Sports. Also going on, Obsidian are making a new game.
Oh yeah.
Although it's their like, it's a mini team within Obsidian, so it's not like a full-fledged like thing. But
man, I was talking to someone the other day about how what's it called? Outer Worlds.
Mm.
No, wait. Yeah,
no, you got it right. I
was like, which one is it? The one that Obsidian made.
Yep, that's Worlds.
It's
not
like
Wilds.
We were talking about how weird it is that like Microsoft own Obsidian, but it's being published by Private Division, which is a subdivision of Take-Two. And it's just like, who's paying these people exactly? It's like Microsoft owns the studio, but Microsoft isn't publishing the game.
No, it's because that deal would, Private Division would have, or Take-Two, however you want to, they would have funded like the development of Outer Worlds, right? Because that's how a lot of publishers work.
Sure, but that still doesn't really explain why Microsoft wasn't publishing it, unless it was like a deal that existed before they got bought.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you were to buy Obsidian, you'd also have to buy the publishing rights to that game.
But it didn't seem like,
which probably wasn't. Which a Private Division and Take-Two probably wouldn't have agreed to, because it's like, hey, we want our return on this, yo.
Yeah, but the timing didn't seem like that would have been like it didn't seem like that game would have been very far along, or maybe even started at the time they were getting bought by Microsoft.
No, when they were started, maybe, but we only heard about Obsidian this year, didn't we? That was like Obsidian were one of the late ones.
Or was it last year?
They announced they announced a load of
Double Fine,
studio
wasn't it?
acquisitions. What was it? Ninja Theory and stuff. I think Double Fine and Obsidian might have been announced this year. I don't think we heard about the Obsidian takeover.
It happened 2 years in a row, and I don't remember which ones were which.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, maybe Obsidian. No, I think maybe Obsidian wasn't last time.
Anyway,
No.
Anyway, I reckon that's what went down.
But it's weird.
It's
anyway.
like it was too late in the cycle, and Private Division and Take-Two were too invested.
And also, relatedly, it's kind of weird that Obsidian is under Private Division, the arguably indie part of Take-Two.
Sure.
Like, they're not exactly an indie studio. Although I guess they're not full mega studio either.
It's super rare that Obsidian actually make a game themselves.
Well, true.
Right? Well, Alpha Protocol might have been the last one. Like back in the 360 days, everything else has been like a licensed property or like for someone else.
But still, I wouldn't think I actually call them an indie studio. They seem more like a sub studio of a developer.
Yeah, they're not an indie studio.
They were sort of free floating.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they're not an indie studio in terms of size. Yeah, they're like top tier, obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, now they're going to make a game presumably purely for Microsoft.
Yes, it is.
Are you interested in Outer Worlds, Seg?
I mean, we can talk about it later because Rob needs to talk about it.
I will be talking about it extensively.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I watched a small bit of it, and basically my job was to be like, yeah, that's like Fallout, but not as bad as Fallout.
Yeah, exactly.
So this new game that we haven't actually talked about yet is called Grounded, and it's Honey, I Shrunk the Survival game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
you're
all you need to say. That's a pretty good pitch already.
You're kids in a garden fighting giant ants.
Or avoiding them, maybe.
Yeah. I'd only want that if the ants were terrible stop motion animators.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
That would be great.
I'd be so in for that, but they're not.
No.
It's all sort of cartoonish, stylized.
They haven't done that, have they? I mean, you've got like Cuphead and everything, but you haven't got a game doing like plasticine, or whatever.
Well, I
like
mean, there
stop
have been
motion animated.
I mean, there was that Kirby plasticine play game, wasn't there? And there's a physicsy demo that's out there about literally about plasticine physics and stuff like that. That's really quite impressive.
And they did make,
but it's not really a game.
That sequel to Neverhood or whatever.
The Neverhood
one.
That point and click entirely claymation game.
I stand corrected. But claymation seems like a good aesthetic for.
Yeah, it's unused. It's
kind of
underutilized. Yeah. Does that have you seen those Steam store listings for The Legend of Bumbo?
Yeah.
No.
Like, it's a prequel to Binding of Isaac made out of cardboard. They've gone for a cardboard aesthetic.
Paper Isaac.
Yeah, basically.
Paper Mario style.
Yeah, the paper of Isaac.
Or like what's the Yoshi Craft one or whatever?
Yeah.
Is it?
Although Yoshi isn't
Crafted
paper
World,
in that, though. He's wool for some reason.
Well, there's Woolly World and then there's Crafted World.
Yeah, he's still wool.
He's still wool, is he?
Well, I mean, more like felt, maybe? I don't know.
No,
He's more felty.
You look at the skin in Smash Bros. That's the crafted World skin.
Is it?
Not the default Yoshi. There's a furry Yoshi skin.
Oh, is there?
Have you not ever seen? I guess it's probably never actually come up on our random.
No, I've never switched to it. I guess, or looked at it, and there's no character because there's no trophies. I suppose you can't just go and look at the models anymore, can you?
Yeah, you just go to training. I guess.
Just go pause. Yeah. So there's that. West of Dead looked kind of cool. It's got Ron Perlman in it. It's like a top-down cover shooter, I guess I'd describe it, but like you're in western abandoned mines killing ghosts as Ghost Rider, kind of looking guy, fiery skull guy. But hey, Ron Perlman. It looked alright. Good vibes. Rust is coming to Xbox.
Why do you keep doing that? When you read something out and go, nah. Just don't read it. Skip to the things we care about.
Yeah, good point.
I skipped a couple of things. I skipped the Sea of Thieves updates.
That we already talked about twice.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Kart Rider Drift just because I'd never heard of it before. But they described it as iconic, and I was immediately like, "Sorry, what? What are you talking about? How can this be iconic?" And it's like, "Oh, it's a 15-year-old Korean PC free-to-play thing."
But they already did that with that other one at E3, didn't
Crossfire X,
Yeah.
which came up later, but I don't know anything about it. It looks like a shooter, a military shooter.
I mean, it seems like they're just they must have some deal with a Korean publisher, and they're just like, "Oh, we're going to get all your old cool games, relatively cool games."
They're pulling Asia to the west. It's I mean, it looked competent enough as a kart racer, right? Like the footage looks pretty good, and it will have keyboard support on Xbox.
Wow. Why would you want keyboard support for a kart racer?
Because that's how it launched. It's like one of those legacy things. Kart Rider apparently always, launched on PC with only keyboard controls, and so they've kept it ever since. As like, hey, yeah, this game can be played like this. They showed some more Bleeding Edge stuff and gave it a release date of March 24th next year. I don't know. Now I've seen more gameplay of that thing. I'm starting to like. Okay, it's Ninja Theory, so I would normally support them till the end of the earth, but I couldn't. I'm having a hard time seeing what's going on in that gameplay. It's like because it's melee focused, everything's really close range and a bit sort of like a cluster.
Yeah,
it's just like there's all kind of stuff just going on, and it's like I reckon it would probably make sense. Like, but it has the same problem of like watching Dota if you're uninitiated. Like, it's like what's going on? Why was that good? That lady's got chicken legs. Robo chicken. So I don't know. I'm willing to give it a chance because it's they're doing that. They're doing the Team Fortress / modern Fortnite sort of thing where it's like the trailers are showing off all the characters that it's never going to be relevant to the actual gameplay, right?
Maybe.
Or the Overwatch thing, I suppose, as well. Hero shooter stuff. And that stuff all seems quite well done, but not really the game. Planet Coaster coming to Xbox, yay! I won't play it there because PC version.
It's a PC game. Yeah.
You might play it there if it comes up on Game Pass.
It'll almost certainly it'll almost certainly be on Game Pass. Maybe it'll draw me away from 2 Point Hospital. Don't Nod are doing a brand new series called Tell Me Why. That is
Ain't
about
nothing but a
Sorry.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
The trailer made it seem like there was some kind of like the main characters are twins, but it made it sound like the mum never wanted a boy and the twins are boy and girl. So like the boy may have been shunned by the mother or something traumatic happened in their past.
He's probably dead.
Spoilers. I mean, she's almost certainly dead.
That's my very early guess there.
Trauma. Oh, what? That he's dead?
Well, one of them. Either one.
Oh, interesting. One of them doesn't exist. Yeah, that would be a good twist. But yeah, they're instead of releasing it episodically, like they sort of perhaps messed up with the speed of Life is Strange 2. Everything's coming out all at once, so the whole series. It's still an episodic game, but they're going to release everything at once in summer 2020. I've misspelt this one. The Artful Escapes. The Artful Escape, which they put a world premiere tag on it during XO, but it's like, but we've seen this game before.
Yeah, and then at the time it was like, when is this going to happen? Never, apparently.
Yeah, but
now they have a date of some kind.
Well, some kind. Next year of some kind. I still don't really know what this is. Is it platformer? No. But it's like it involves a lot of guitar. It's about playing guitar to monsters, as far as I can tell.
Brutal Legend.
I mean, it's an uplifting trailer. You sort of feel good after watching that trailer, I guess. Especially as you look like Jarvis Cocker as well.
I guess that helps a little bit.
Right.
Always helps.
So let's talk about Project xCloud. They haven't yet brought it to the preview program to PC yet, but they say that it's going to be on PC, and I think they said it's going to be fully released next year. Like, so not even just preview, it's just going to be out. Game Pass Ultimate subscribers are just going to get it. Like, so it's not like a separate service. They're going to wrap it into Game Pass Ultimate, and you're going to have access to it, which is nice. Great value add for that. And they're going to support all kinds of Bluetooth controllers. And by all kinds, they specifically called out the Sony DualShock. So presumably your PS4 or potentially PS5 controllers will be pairable with this thing.
Okay, that's good.
That seemed to get a nice cheer from the audience. I guess people realise that PlayStation controller was good, even at an Xbox event.
I've forgotten, what was the thing about PlayStation 5, like Super HD Rumble or something? What was they talking about?
They're not having Rumble,
haptic.
they're having haptics of some kind.
Yeah. Okay, but
Like,
I'm imagining
resistance
otherwise
in the triggers and
the I'm guessing the PlayStation 5 controller will be almost identical looking to the PlayStation 4 one. Almost certainly
it will be
hard to tell the difference. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some. I don't think there's been much of scuttlebutt about whether because people are now getting into the xCloud preview in America because that's the only place you can do it right now.
Naturally.
And I think the general response is being fairly positive.
More positive response than for Stadia.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything about what's going on with Stadia.
Well, what's going on with Stadia is it's about to come out quite soon, I think, and none of the features are done. Basically,
oh yeah,
they're like, we're not going to launch with this and this and this and this. They're coming soon.
Didn't they say like what is it? Is it coming to mobile only? But then that's how xCloud works at the moment.
Well, it's like you can't buy games except for on mobile, and the mobile interface only works on Pixels.
Oh, right.
So it's like, I hope you're very invested in the Google infrastructure.
So can you play on Chrome? Is that stuff still okay? Oh, didn't they say that the whole wireless thing in the controller isn't going to work first off as well? Like, you need a Chromecast Ultra.
You have to have a Chromecast Ultra, but you can only use the Chromecast Ultras that come with the Stadia at launch, and then there'll be a patch at some point to fix all the other Chromecast Ultras.
Oh, weird.
Presumably quite quickly, because that's just an over-the-air update, so that'll probably just be a firmware.
Yeah. You might not even
but it's still pretty ridiculous that they say that's not at launch going to immediately work.
But that whole thing about the controllers talking to the service over using their own Wi-Fi rather than talking to the Chromecast, I heard that was a thing they're not doing either. Not at first. Which is one of the major selling points, right? Because it's a latency thing.
Yeah.
It's like you're skipping a hop in theory.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of. It was weird because this all came out of an AMA on Reddit, and
kudos for answering the question.
Yeah, they were surprisingly upfront about how everything was delayed.
Right. Well, that's good of them in a way. I mean, this stuff's complex, right? I can sort of forgive them a little bit,
but it's like then you think just like what they're actually doing is they're rushing to get it out before Black Friday.
Yeah, but you can't really buy it and get it anymore.
Sure, the pre-orders are like fully backed up or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you're not on the founders list anymore. If you want to buy it now, you're on just like the regular user list, for which there's an epic wait.
But even then, to put that somewhere on a storefront, even if it's still like a get in a queue kind of storefront.
Oh, what you reckon you reckon it would be like on Amazon or something?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure about that.
But yeah, it does seem like it's like, why not just delay it for a month and have all these things that you say are going to be within a month after launch done? Unless you're trying to hit a deadline for business reasons. Surely it would be better for all these features to exist and everyone would be happy.
Maybe. It is odd. I think it's just a little egregious because of the buy-in, right?
Yeah.
At least with xCloud, it's like everything there will work with what you've got. Like, you just need the Android app if you're using it on your phone, and a Bluetooth controller that you can pair to your phone, which is every modern Xbox controller.
Yeah.
Well, I say every. It's like there was a point, wasn't there, where they redid the Xbox controller halfway through this life cycle, and that added Bluetooth to it, so you didn't need the wireless dongle for PC.
Yeah.
You just needed Bluetooth in your PC, which not all PCs have still. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, jury's still out. I want to try it. I definitely want to try it, just to see what it feels like.
Wait like 6 months for it to hit the UK.
Yeah,
I guess.
Well, yeah, and I hope that it's not in preview, or A, or B, I get invited to the preview, or it just comes out. And I'll have it on Game Pass anyway. Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, and Yakuza Kiwami 2 are coming to Game Pass next year. Yay!
So you get to play
Kiwami
2 more of those games.
Well, I've got Yakuza 0 already.
Oh yeah, I guess you do. You have 2 already in the third one.
Kiwami 2 is the one I now won't have to buy. Yay! Reach is coming out. Halo Reach, that is, coming out December 3rd on PC and Xbox.
Although weirdly, as me and Rob were looking at the Steam store page last night of the Master Chief Collection and Reach, and it's weird how it's laid out.
The Steam page is a bit of a mess, yeah. Because it's like you can buy the Master Chief Collection, and that supposedly contains Reach on the Steam version.
Really? Okay.
Which it doesn't on Xbox. The Xbox version has everything but Reach.
It's the wrong name, isn't it?
Or ODST.
That's why it's called the Master Chief Collection, isn't it? Because it doesn't have Reach. Because it has the Master Chief games.
But there's ODST, though.
I suppose you're right, yeah. But ODST was always DLC.
That's true.
For MCC.
Yeah. Okay.
But technically, so is Reach, I guess.
Yeah, on Xbox it's DLC. But I think if you're a Game Pass user, you're going to just get all of it anyway. So I will probably have access to ODST and Reach on Xbox, but Reach is the only thing releasing on PC December 3rd. The rest of them aren't ready yet.
But then it's like we were looking at it. It's like, so why does the Steam store page for Master Chief Collection exist? It's like, is it some kind of shell that's still going to launch the Reach part of it because the rest of it doesn't exist?
And I think at some point there's going to be like the ability to buy each game piecemeal. Like, so you don't have to buy the collection; you can buy each one
because the Reach page has an individual price.
And a DLC tag.
Yeah, just weird.
It's odd. Yeah, the Steam page is odd. But what ifs? We can try that. That's an excuse to play Halo Reach co-op again.
I'm more excited to play ODST again.
Well, yeah, but we'll have to wait for that.
Well, yeah. But at least it's going to happen eventually.
Could actually play it on the Xbox.
Well, that too. We literally could just go and play actual ODST if we really wanted to.
Well, there's that as well. But we want the frame rate, yo.
Yes.
There's a really dramatic trailer for Flight Simulator. Really dramatic. So many drums. Dun, 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 dun. But every time there was a drum, it's like the plane stayed where it was and the entire background changed. It was one of those.
I thought you were just going to be like the plane stayed where it was in the air, like planes do.
As
it didn't crash or explode or anything.
No, there was no crashing. There was no crashing or exploding in this in any part of this trailer. It was just planes, but it was very dramatic.
I mean, I have to say, like, you know, it's been a thing before, but the like kind of terrain mapping data enhancing flight sims is a dramatically difference, right? You can literally fly anywhere and it looks amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly lovely looking thing.
Yeah,
like I was just watching that on I was watching it on a YouTube feed, so maybe it was a 4K feed, but on through my TV, and it's like, but damn.
Because the previous one, I know it's a while ago, but Flight Simulator was like, okay, we've got the Hawaiian Islands, like really well mapped, so check out Hawaii. And this time around, it's like, yeah, we've got the world.
Although, as we said the first time, we should have saw the trailer for this one. It's like, is it going to be like that everywhere, or is it still very specific
it can't
places?
Be. There's probably not enough.
Well, I don't know.
Storage space, like unless it's like
but it's streamed. It's all cloud streamed. That's the whole idea, right? So you don't.
Someone still has to.
Someone has to
fix a lot of the terrain data and models and stuff.
I mean, for like major cities and stuff, someone's done a pass, right? For the ones they want to.
But it's just like in maps. Like it's probably the same kind of pass they did to fix their 3D maps in the Google, Bing Maps or whatever it is. Right?
Yeah, maybe.
Because they've done a pass, clearly. If you look at like Google Maps, like London or New York or something in 3D, they've clearly done a bit of touching up because it looks ridiculously good. Because those cities, you know, they've flown a plane around doing LiDAR, right? It's not just your average satellite data. They've actually modeled the city. And
well, it's not like, you know, when you go to play, I don't know, Ipswich isn't quite so well modeled. So.
Ipswich is okay, actually.
But yeah, it's not bad. But most of the time, what they've done is just apply the like that looks like a tree. So the algorithm's going to apply an arbitrary height map to this thing that looks like a tree and make a little bump in the landscape.
Yeah, it's like it's inferring a height, not like actually knowing the height.
But it has like they must have flown a plane around Ipswich because it's got the shape of the Buttermarket building and everything in 3D.
Sure, so some of the main buildings are done quite well, but it's not as tight in some spots, and it doesn't take long before it's like, oh, yep, none of this is modelled again.
Yeah, it's out of the zone of modelling.
Yeah. But yeah, Flight Sim looked like a damn good looking game. It's like, if it comes out on Game Pass, maybe I'll give that a quick go with just an excuse to use your joystick down that I've still got.
Well, obviously, what you want to do is just that will be when you need to fly over Ipswich and look at the models and be let's see how old this data is. Does your house even exist?
Oh, yeah, does my house exist? Yeah, is it using decade-old data like some of, like Edge maps was still used, or whatever maps Microsoft uses to power their maps? It's like my house still wasn't on that last time I looked. Been 10 years, guys. Well, 9 and a bit. Age of Empires 4. We got to see some gameplay. It looked like an Age of Empires game, but with nice 3D graphics.
Probably should, I guess.
Yeah, they're focusing on medieval times, and
I mean, isn't that always what Age of Empires is?
Haven't they sometimes gone like back further?
I don't know if they really have that much. It's always like a town centre, like medieval. Age of Empires 2 is the only one that I really played. But
okay, well, the definitive one.
Yes, exactly. But it's not like Empire Earth where they did do the whole history progression thing.
I don't know. I never really played I don't think I've ever played an Age of Empires game, so I'm not the person to ask. But
it's a bit weird that it's called Age of Empires when it really doesn't have that much history in it. It's quite focused, from what I remember of Age of Empires 2's campaign.
Well, yeah, it's got all we know is that it's got the Mongols and the English in it at the moment.
That's quite a wide spread.
Yeah. Did the English ever fight the Mongols?
At that period, probably not. Well, maybe Crusaders, I guess.
Maybe they made it all the way.
Mongols.
That's too far, though, isn't it? The Mongols are like just as far again from the Holy Landers.
Yeah.
Well, the Mongols came quite a long way west in their conquesting.
Conquesting. I was only going to mention Crossfire X, not because the game looks all that competitive. I mean, it looks like another military shooter, right?
Yeah.
But it's the fact that they used XCOM Give It To You.
I mean,
in the trailer.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. There was a remix of it as well, so I was just there's a certain thing about can you do that? Is that too obvious?
I think it's probably not Gangster's Paradise for Sonic. It's just it is kind of obvious, but it's not at least it
fitting.
Yeah, at least it works.
Crossfire X, go and give it to you. Minecraft Dungeons.
Well, I mean, we already knew about that. What?
Yeah, I mean, but do we need to say? I was about to say, they showed a bit more gameplay, but it's I don't know. It's so Diablo. It's I think things that surprised me were oh, hey, there's a lot more circles in this than I was expecting.
What do you mean circles, though?
Because it's AoE effects, right? That just cast circles on the floor.
Well, you'd prefer if it was still had a tile grid underneath so that the effect looked edged.
It could be circular, but be edged.
I think that'd be too confusing.
I mean, it looks proper confusing anyway. In fairness.
It's Diablo. That's always what that's like. It's just a big you only know what you're doing because you have your fingers on the number keys and you're hitting them over and over. You're not actually necessarily perceiving all the shit that's going on the screen.
Potion.
Yeah.
There was a bit where I think one of the hosts basically got swarmed by things, and it was just a bright white mess of effects going on around it.
Well, that's the other problem with even thinking about Diablo 4 or whatever, it's just you turn the bloom up too high and that just makes the particle effects completely obliterate everything that's going on because there's so many of them happening.
It was also fun because I think this was the one live demo they did on stage.
Right.
And I think there was a problem that they glossed over because one of the players seemed really desperate to get hold of this giant bow that I think had spawned on top of a bit of landscape.
Couldn't get it.
So it was there, but they were and they sort of hung around for a bit. And it's I think the guy was and just carried on talking. He had a little hesitation, being oh no, I don't think that was supposed to happen. even though it was like procedurally generated supposedly all the time. So it's like the demo was apparently like completely random as well. But it's like, oh, it randomized something invalid.
Right, yeah.
So that's fun. It's out in April. Square Enix turned up to basically say that every Final Fantasy game from 7 onwards, although I forgot to write 7 down. I said
Yeah, I was
onwards.
about to say, it doesn't say 7 on your list, it says 8.
So that's 8, 9, 10, 10, 2, 12, all of the 13s, and 15 are all coming to Game Pass. I don't know if they said that's going to be console or PC.
Get the PC versions of those.
Yeah, because they do all have PC versions.
I don't think 9 does. Oh, no, wait, does 9?
Well, because 10 and 10... Yeah, 9 did. They did that like last year.
Oh, yeah, they did that before 8. That's why I was confused.
Yeah. Yeah, because 10 and 10.2 have had that HD version, which is going up. 12, they said will get Zodiac Age, so that'll be the remade, or the remastered version as well, which will be interesting because 12. Well, Lightning Returns I haven't played yet, so 13.3. 10.2 I've never played.
For obvious reasons.
Because it's
Are
weird.
you actually going to play these games?
Well, they've sort of always been on my list to do so. I've actually...
The trouble is they're going to Game Pass, and so Rob is compelled.
Someone actually lent me the PlayStation 2 version of Final Fantasy 12, so I've got sat somewhere. And it's like, well, I'm never getting around to that. I was going to put it in...
You don't want to play that on PlayStation 2 now.
Well, no,
because you not play it on PlayStation 2.
because you might as well play Zodiac Age. I don't know, video series incoming.
Oh, God.
If we ever get around there, maybe playing 8, but maybe we'll just skip to 10 or something, and then laugh a lot at the sky.
The next video series of Final Fantasy we're doing is obviously 7 when it comes out.
Oh, what, 7 remake?
Yeah,
but I'm going to play that on PlayStation when it comes out. Because it's not getting a PC version.
Boo. It might do.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, it will eventually.
Sure.
But it's got that Sony money behind it.
Does it, though?
Well, it hasn't been announced for anything other than PS4, and Sony have been dedicating a lot of booth space to it.
I mean, I guess. But wasn't that more a case of what else did Sony have at the time, though?
Probably. Yeah.
Sony have been pretty solid, like, until recently, when everything has dried up.
Yeah. It's been a quiet year for Sony.
It's that goddamn zombie game twice.
I mean, they've got Death Stranding.
That game's called, and I've already forgotten.
Days Gone?
Maybe.
Or is it The Last of Us you're thinking of?
No, that's a different game.
I mean, Days Gone came out this year.
Yeah, I know. But it's like that was they focused on that at the start and end of that E3, and we were like, why?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think they did. And it was okay. It's mostly forgotten.
Yep.
Most forgotten game of 2019. Days Gone happened.
Quite potentially going to get on that list.
Yeah. I actually do know someone that played it though, and they were quite into it.
Sure.
So maybe it can't win for that reason.
We've got a whole discussion to have.
Yep.
A different podcast.
Kingdom Hearts, the HD games are coming to Xbox as well. They specifically said Xbox at this point as well, so I don't think, because there's never been a PC version of Kingdom Hearts.
No.
So I think it's, but that's like the first in the series. All the weird point release versions of them, like the slightly remastered-ish stuff. What was it, 1.5 and then 2.8?
Yep.
Final prologue.
Dream Drop Distance.
Well, no, those are the DS games. They didn't mention those.
I don't think those are going to be coming to anything else.
No,
ever.
I think like in these packages, what happens with those is, I don't know if they ever re-released those. They might have done. They might have been part of 2.8. Some of those weirder ones, like 365 and a quarter days of sleep or something. God, those names. What a stupid series.
And now Rob gets split because it's on Game Pass.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a bit of me that says this should be great, right? There's the thing with Kingdom Hearts is there's always been that little part of me that's like can't help but think this should be awesome. They've done a pretty decent job at making the Disney feel authentic, but it's also got Final Fantasy in it. But then they sort of ditched that idea kind of after the first game and been like, well, there's not much Final Fantasy in it anymore. It's all just Disney and these new guys.
But the new guys are kind of very Final Fantasy inherently.
I mean, they're same sort of characters. Yeah. But the story sounds so stupid.
Of course.
Like, not even a good stupid.
feel like that is the key distinction in entertainment. Is like stupid is okay as long as it's good stupid. It's all about is it good stupid or bad stupid.
Yeah,
too much bad stupid and not enough good stupid.
I think it goes far too far down the convoluted Japanese anime rabbit hole, which can happen, right? It's like they just go.
It can happen very easily.
Yeah, they just go so far down that it's just like there's no way back up. So they just keep digging. They hope that they'll find Australia.
That's incredibly rare. If you keep digging and it still ends up working.
Well, isn't that what happened to Lost? Like, if you think of the Western equivalent, they just kept digging and kept digging to the point where they couldn't dig anymore, and they were just like, "It was all a dream."
Yeah,
that doesn't count as finding Australia, though.
No, they did not find Australia. They burnt to a crisp in the Earth's core.
Yeah, not exactly the prime example of that.
Much more
you
common.
Don't make it out the other side.
No,
it was. I just know. Speaking of like series that are stupid that you should probably never watch, but I'm tempted to. I noticed that I didn't realize it got this far. The 4 seasons of Heroes turned up on Amazon Prime.
Oh, wow.
How far did we watch? Like 2?
I watched 1.
I watched 1 too.
I only watched series 1.
Me too. I immediately stopped because I could tell it was about to.
It jumped the shark, right?
Instantly.
Yeah.
After...
I think I saw some of season 2, and that was when I stopped. It's like, yep, that's definitely as fucked up as it appeared.
Well, because it stopped getting aired, I think, in the UK, like halfway through season 2 or something. Yeah. Like, it just got dropped like obvious. A stone.
Yeah. I even forgot that thing existed.
This was it. I just saw that sort of.
It was
that
actually
logo.
Quite good that first season.
The first season was really pretty good.
Yeah, it was okay.
But they got to the point where they had power creep, right?
Yeah.
They created that problem for themselves from the start.
Well, when you have someone who's basically invincible, I instantly fucked up.
Well, they had they had the empath who could steal everyone's powers just by touching it.
I mean, that was the critical failure.
And then they had the bad empath that had to kill them to get that power to do the same thing. So you always had these 2 rivals, right?
Yeah.
And then, which is in theory kind of cool, but yeah, there's an inherent power creep because they never had a weakness revealed. It's like, how do you want to unpower them somehow?
I mean, it's just like Phoenix and X-Men, right?
Or maybe they just had. It'd be great if they had some sort of time limit and they just ran the old powers would go away.
Well, so yeah, because they could come up with whatever explanation they wanted because the whole thing was just mysterious.
I'd be like, oh, holy crap! You haven't put a hand on the cheerleader for like a season, therefore you've lost your healing ability. You're gonna die. They could have done something really dumb. That's good dumb. There was good dumb to be had there.
Maybe.
Also, it had that guy from LA Noire in it. Although it was the other way around,
Yeah, just a little bit the other way around. Only like several years the other way around.
The guy who could read minds.
What happened to what's her face? Hayden Panettiere.
Oh, she made like 6 odd seasons of Nashville.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
So she went on to something else that I think was more popular.
Yes, slightly.
And turned up in Until Dawn. Because she was like... Was she one of the... I don't know if she was the lead, but she was one of the main characters in that.
Didn't she? Because she's tiny, isn't she? I remember having had some hilariously giant boyfriend, a bit like Shaq and...
Well, Shaq's going to look giant.
Shaq is just always hilariously giant, regardless
next
of
to anyone.
Unless Shaq started dating Kobe Bryant, then... Or LeBron.
Just keep naming basketball players.
I don't know many.
I think you've already run out almost.
Michael Jordan.
Okay,
Michael Jordan. Bugs Bunny.
Yep.
Come on and slam if you want a jam. Or is it the other way around? Come on and jam if you want a slam.
I know you know. Something like that.
Are they making a sequel to Space Jam?
Yes, they are.
Oh.
Is it a sequel or is it a remake?
No, it's a full-on sequel.
Oh, God.
I think it has LeBron in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would.
Anyway, where the hell are we?
That's the end of XO19. I mean, they had Wasteland. They closed out the show with Wasteland 3, which I don't know, it looked the same as it did at E3. So, but I don't really know a lot about Wasteland, so I can't really comment.
We didn't know much about it at E3 either.
No. Hey, it's original Fallout. That's how you describe that, right? pre-Fallout 3 Fallout.
You mean like Fallout 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because that's the lineage, right? And he went out of his way to explain it at the show that like this guy made Wasteland 1, couldn't get the IP rights for it to carry on making games himself, so they made Fallout, and then Fallout 2, and then had the same problem again when it came to Fallout 3. So he left the company, and then eventually Wasteland 2 happened. So here we are back at the beginning, kinda. Except in Colorado.
I don't know if that's accept. You can have it wherever you want.
Yep.
In America.
In America.
In both the Fallout and Wasteland universe.
The same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, that was XO19. I thought there was some stuff to talk about. It was well made this year, is what I would say, compared to the somewhat weird. I wouldn't call it a disaster, but it was just It was an exceptionally awkward watching the Mexican one last year, XO18. This year was much better produced, and because there was just a lot more trailers and a lot more going on there was, it was a much more enjoyable thing to actually sit through. And my friend Pedro, that's coming to Game Pass as well. I could do some banana shooting action.
Do you shoot the banana?
No, the banana's your
maybe
friend.
at the end. Spoilers.
Yeah. You probably do. That game's always had a touch of style that I've appreciated. There's a whole load of other indie stuff that's all coming as well. So, Game Pass, it's a good... someone's just turned off all the lights. Thanks, Gnome.
Good. Podcast in the dark.
I'll sort that out.
Podcast by the light of Rob's computer screens.
Yeah.
That's pretty bright, even still.
The only other thing I think I was going to mention, like in news in general, is that BioWare are supposedly overhauling Anthem.
Give up. No.
Well, I mean, they apparently have given up with the updates they were going to do.
Yeah.
Now they're going to do something completely different.
This is like a full-on, hey, what the hell went wrong? And let's rebuild it kind of thing.
And then when this fails, then EA can shut them down for real.
There's a lot of people like saying, hey, they're trying to pull a No Man's Sky on it.
Sure.
Well, good luck to them, I guess. I mean,
yeah, good luck. I will give Anthem something in that, like, I don't know, from the early looks of it and the sound design of it, and even though the sound was totally buggy when I played the beta version of it. But like, how that game sounded, and to a certain extent how it looked,
yeah,
like, and then the world they were crafting and the language they were using to describe things, like the concept of the anthem itself.
Nah, the world building was subpar.
Oh, no, you didn't like?
No, not into it.
Okay, fair enough. I thought they could have perhaps done something with it, but maybe you're right. Maybe it wasn't.
These are the people that made the Mass Effect universe. Or
yeah, I know what you mean. And there was a certain, I don't know, maybe I got that Bungie vibe from it, right? It felt a little bit Halo-y, a little bit.
Felt a little bit like Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. I think they could have done better than what it was.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I think that's fairly clear.
Yeah. So they can have a shot.
Well, apparently they can have a shot. However, I mean, the EA guillotine has been delayed somehow.
That's the other thing they talked about at XO19, actually, that was vague enough to be interesting, but it won't work out this way. EA's chief technology guy came on stage and basically said, hey, we're putting Madden 20 on xCloud. But what they didn't go on to explain is like, how does that work? Do I need to? Can I do that if I'm just if I'm a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, or do I need to be an EA or EA Access subscriber as well? Like how much? Like if EA starts putting stuff on xCloud, do I have to have EA Access to cloud it, or is my Game Pass going to cover that?
Yeah, because it's like
my money's on no, not in hell.
It's like a weird double system. Where it's like EA's thing, although it was already weird that you had EA Access on Xbox Live, even.
Yeah. I mean, and that's still a thing.
Yeah.
It still will be. Yeah. Slightly odd. But hey, if you buy Anthem now, you might get new Anthem. That's been floating. Whenever new Anthem comes out.
Well, I mean, you'd hope that it isn't going to be a separate purchase for all the people who already have it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that'd be a real dick move.
That was the other thing, that it might be offered at a reduced price for owners of Anthem.
You'd hope it'd be free for them.
Yeah.
Specifically, maybe with a cut-off date, so not everyone can just buy it now and while it's super cheap and just get in.
Sure. But then would you want to get in? Like, how much faith do you have?
No, exactly. But that's the risk.
That's early access.
That's not at all early access.
And that'll be news.
I guess so. Because I couldn't think of any other news at all.
They're talking, or have we just lost him?
That's
Oh, no,
the
it's
end
still
of the
I heard
news.
shoveling noises.
Okay, yeah,
Now
that's normally where
it's
where
time
you come in.
For the section known as "What have you been playing?"
Slick.
Do we talk about Pokemon?
No, I mean it's happening currently.
It's happened, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, like just yesterday or whatever, the actual release date, but there'd been previews going on for the week, running up. It's getting review bombed the shit out of on Metacritic.
I mean, it's
As you do.
It's reviewed about the same.
Well,
as
in real reviews, I mean,
Death
it's
Stranding.
reviewed perfectly normal, but in the user reviews, get that red colour on your icon
So it's much
Wow.
more noticeable.
in a bad way.
Red stands out. Marketing, free marketing, people.
Free anti-marketing.
I don't know. I did see I've struggled to find the article again, but I did see a tweet from someone like Polygon or Engadget or something like that, like a mainstream journalism site, games journalism site, saying Pokemon Sword and Shield is the worst Pokemon game.
I saw a thing that said it was even with the reviews the real reviews that it's been getting, it's averaged out to be as bad as Black and White, which was previously considered the worst.
Right. Not Black and White, but Pokemon Black and White.
Is it literally like the
right.
game? It's the game itself, right? If you take away all the other factors and just think of it in terms of the
Yeah.
I don't know, the writing and the new Pokemon and not that they have a strong story generally, but the charm of it may be lacking.
Yeah, it's hella average on that front, and then it also has all the things that pissed off the community.
Not a good combo.
Yeah.
And the raised expectations of being on Switch.
Well, yes, that
with amazing
definitely
games on it.
messed that up. Those N64 trees.
Do you think they'll react to this? I mean, it's impossible to know. Is there any chance that they'll react to this by actually making a good game in 2?
Well, I mean,
3
the
years'
next
time?
game, I mean, maybe. That's about all they can do, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to go back and fix this one.
No, of course not.
Oh, well, unless they make a third version of it. But even then, that won't be like a
No.
full fix. That'll be like, maybe they'll add a few extra Pokemon.
I'm just going to scan through my Twitter and I can't find this post.
Maybe it was deleted.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it was an overreaction. Pokemon Sword and Shield fans say the game is deleting their save files across all their Nintendo Switch games.
Oh, okay, that's quite a bug.
Great bug.
But then there's a dash.
Okay, yeah.
Here's what's actually happening.
No,
Oh.
well, but what could possibly be actually happening to make them think that?
Yeah. We got
Quick, Rob, read that article.
Yeah, you guys carry on. I'm going to read this Polygon article.
Well then, Zeg, what have you been playing?
Well, before we could actually talk about the main thing that I've been playing, we need to talk about how I tried to fix my Switch.
What?
Well, because as I previously said, my right stick has been fucked for ages. It has a drift, although it's not like the drift that everyone else. Well, mainly because it's the right stick, because normally it's the left stick that everyone else gets. But my right stick was fucked up, and it had a drift that was like an upwards drift. And ages ago, I got a hold of a replacement stick because they're well cheap. And it's just and it comes with screwdrivers, so you can actually operate the correct screws and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'll just buy that. And then there was the bit where there was that rumor for a while that Nintendo were replacing Joy-Cons with stick drift.
Right.
So I delayed doing that repair in case that happened to come to the UK, but it never did. So I was just like, well, okay, I guess I want to play Luigi's Mansion, so I'm going to have a functional stick now, aren't I? So I was like, well, okay, let me finally commit to doing this repair. And I slightly fucked it up, kind of, but not it. It may not have been my fault, or I don't think it was my fault. So what actually happened was, I was like, okay, I've watched this video telling you how to do it, so I know what I'm getting into. And, well, except it was, again, video was for the left Joy-Con, so I was like, I'm sure it's fairly similar. That's fine. More or less the same stuff on the inside. So, but you have the outer casing screws are those tri-heads,
right?
Which is why you have to have the special screwdriver that comes with the stick.
All right.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to get those. The second one of those I tried to unscrew, it immediately stripped.
Oh, really?
And I was like, well, now I'm fucked, aren't I? But
so the screw is so the metal is so weak that
it just I couldn't get it to turn before it stripped itself.
Oh man!
And I was like, well, I'm just screwed, aren't I?
That sucks.
But fortunately,
I'm not screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, no, I am screwed. I'm not unscrewed.
It's still screwed. Yeah. It remains screwed.
Yes, but fortunately, it was the screw that's the top inner screw, the one that's next to where the R button is. So it's the plastic goes up and gets really thin there. And I was like, okay, that's really thin. I can just break that off, right? I could probably just twist it and it will just pop that. Well, either it will break the shield. I was hoping it was going to break the plastic and then I could just have a clean break to fix. But what it actually did was bend the plastic and then the screw popped out through the hole. The hole stripped over the screw.
Huh.
And I was like, well, that's okay too, I guess.
that might have worked out better, actually.
Yeah, but it's still bent, though. That's the one thing.
Okay.
I probably should have tried to unbend it more than I did, but I didn't want to completely fuck it up. So anyway, the reason why I think that may not have been my fault was because then when I had this screw that was still screwed in, and I was like, well, if I'm going to put this back together, now I actually need to still get that screw out of the way. So I got a pair of pliers and was untwisting it, and it was really fucking stuck in there. I think it might have been the threads were misaligned when it was manufactured.
Oh, wow.
So I never could have unscrewed it successfully. But yeah, I eventually worked it out with a pair of pliers. Eventually. It was well difficult. And then took everything apart, put the new stick in, had a momentary problem with trying to get ribbon cables to reattach correctly because it's actually way more fiddly than it looks. It's because the ribbon cables, they don't really attach exactly. They sit on top of their connectors, and then there's a little bit of plastic that kind of folds down, which holds it in place.
Oh, right.
But it's an incredibly tiny thing, and it's really difficult to tell whether you've got it aligned correctly while you're trying to fucking manipulate this bit of plastic to fold back over.
Back in.
So that took a goddamn age, and I thought I was screwed, but eventually I managed to do it. And I now have a functioning Joy-Con again, with a slightly bent bit of plastic and one less screw.
Not the cleanest repair job.
No, but it works.
Yeah, that's a bit worrying. Perhaps, well, is it worrying though? Because most people would never actually need to unscrew their Joy-Con, you'd hope.
Well, apart from all these drifting sticks.
Yeah. You said it was the right one?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. So arguably the more complicated one because of the sensor.
Well, the right one has the sensor, but the left one has the NFC.
Right, yeah. It's got
they both just have stuff in.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I got through that whole process, and I was like, okay, now Luigi's Mansion.
Done with that now. Game.
Yeah. So then I went into that and played some Luigi's Mansion, and it's Luigi's Mansion, I guess. Now let's talk about all the bad things.
Classic Happy Salad review.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fine I don't know if I was like. Well, the trouble is, I'm only like halfway through, I guess, so I can't fully say what the total experience is like. But it is very like similar to 2. It has the same like there's 6 hidden gems on each floor rather than in 2 where it was in each mini house or whatever. It's like 2 had this weird multiple mansions thing going on. But yeah, there's the 6 hidden gems. And then once you've cleared the floor, there's 1 boo that appears on the floor, and all those usual. It's basically exactly the same structure as Luigi's Mansion 2, more or less.
Right, which is quite different from the first.
Yeah,
really.
which is quite a lot different from the first. But then like the other thing that I found like not necessarily bad, but kind of surprising was like you don't actually fight that many ghosts. There's a lot of time you're just sort of wandering around and looking at things and solving little environmental puzzles. Not actually very many ghosts involved.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, some of the environmental puzzles in Luigi's Mansion 1 were sort of spooky and, and ghostly,
sure.
Right? Even if there wasn't a straight up a ghost that you had to fight.
Yeah, I feel like quite a lot of, I mean, some of the, I guess the whole, and the whole hotel thing you're in is still like spooky overall, but not like super spooky. Like some floors are just like regular hotel floors. Like here's the ballroom and here's the movie studio for some reason. But I mean, okay, maybe not totally regular, but it's just like, it doesn't look like it's a haunted movie studio. It's just like, it's just a movie studio and there's some ghosts in there sometimes.
Not enough spiders, you mean?
Maybe.
Not enough cobwebs for you to suck up and clean.
Oh god, man. The amount of shit you suck up in this game is just ridiculous. It's just like, it's less Luigi hunting ghosts and more like Luigi cleaning up, but like super cleaning up. He's like a minimalist. He doesn't want any shit on any surface. Just get rid of it.
Nice.
Luigi's house flipper. So they don't like even if like, because was it the banquet room or whatever it was called, the dining room sort of thing from the first game? Like you try and suck up the cutlery and stuff, and it would just sort of jiggle about.
Yeah, now it just goes. You just suck up everything. You just suck up swords. You suck up movie reels. It all just disappears. It still has, if there's a sheet or a cloth, you still plug it into the vacuum and then pull it and then tug it.
I bet he likes to think all of this is getting teleported to EGAD and he's selling it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, where does it go when it goes into this tiny vacuum that's on your back? It's like, the ghost, that makes sense. But where does all this other crap and all the money? So much money. Everything has money in it.
Yeah, and the money now is used, right?
Spend it?
Not really, though.
Because it was always just like a score tally.
Yeah, it still basically is.
Okay,
oh, right.
Right.
Like
there is a store
in Lego.
You can spend like a very tiny amount of money. There's the basically lives, except they're not exactly like lives. It's like more like a res. If you run out of health, you just get back up, and you can buy up to 3 of those at a time. So however many you want. And then there's like scanners that reveal what room the booze and gems are in.
Oh, okay.
But only one. So you have to buy that over and over. But like, why would you? That's the whole point of the game.
I was about to say, does that feel like cheating at that point if you're having to use those? Or...
I mean, it's cheating or convenience. Or if you're completely stumped, I guess you just buy that. It still only tells you what room it's in. It doesn't solve the puzzle if it's the gem or whatever.
Okay, interesting. So the puzzles can be. Do you think the puzzles are oblique enough or obtuse enough that you might hit that scenario?
Well, I think sometimes they might be, but it's like there's this other problem that I have with the game in general, which is like that it feels like it just doesn't do a very good job of telegraphing things. Sometimes like enemies, and sometimes just like environmental things. Where I'm just like, what am I meant to do? And then it's like, oh, that really wasn't that obvious, I guess. Like,
but that was kind of from what I remember of the first game, that was sort of part of the point in that you could, if things spat out money or something, like in the first game, it's like you could think, oh right, that was a thing I had to
interact with.
Yeah, it was the things that didn't move.
Yeah,
right. Or didn't jiggle. That you were like, oh, hang on, this isn't responding to me. This must be important.
Yeah, I guess. It's kind of helpful. But I don't think that it's like I had real trouble with like a couple of the boss fights. One of which I just didn't even. The thing is, it even has like a hint system. Like EGAD comes over the radio and is like, here's a hint if you get stuck in a place for long enough. But even this hint in the boss fight didn't help, because it's a knight dude, and he's fully armored up, which makes him invulnerable to your flashlight, of course, because that's how ghosts work in Luigi's Mansion.
Right.
So you can't stun him. So it's like, obviously, you're looking for an opening to somehow get past the armor, and then you can stun him, and then you do all the usual things. Right.
Slam him around the room a bit.
Yeah, do the Luigi's Mansion thing. But so what he like rides around the room. It's like an arena. He rides around this arena, and then he like eventually he fires arrows at you for a while, and then eventually he like points towards you, and the horse rears up, and then he charges you, and that's a big attack. And I was like, okay, so where the fuck is the opening for this? And the only like. And Egad doesn't tell you any more hint. He's just like, you look for an opening. It's like, yeah, I'm trying.
Cheers, Gad.
But like, it's a kind of too subtle animation, I think, because what happens is like the horse rears up, and then as he's about to start the lunging animation with the lance, his head comes up out of the armor slightly.
Oh wow, okay.
And it's like that's where you have to hit him. So you basically, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. You have to face him down when he's about to do the charge attack.
That's kind of cool.
It's kind of a traditional boss thing, but it was too subtle for me to see that easily. That was the exact moment you had to do it. And then like the boss in the garden area where he has like not a piranha plant, a Venus flytrap. For some reason it's not a piranha plant. I mean, it could have been. It's a Mario game.
That's weird. Yeah, why not?
But he has this plant, and what you eventually work out is you have to lure the plant to bite these like giant pumpkin things that just keep occasionally spawning in the arena, and then it gets stuck, and then you use a saw blade to slice through the piranha plant, and then you can attack the boss guy. But the trouble with that is like there's only one of the plant attacks that will do that where it gets stuck. The other attacks that it does destroy the pumpkin things. So you're like,
so I suppose like the first few times you try it, it'd be like, all right, that's not the trick.
Yeah, you think like, oh, it's not. It just destroys these pumpkin things. But then you're like, okay, but why are these pumpkin things there? They must do something. But then you're trying to vacuum them or manipulate them or hit them with the saw or something. But it's like it's just that one of the attacks interacts with those pumpkins in a way that's beneficial.
Yeah. So you're making it sound like the boss fights are the weakness of this game.
Well, no, because the boss fights are actually cool. Like they have, the first real boss fight you get to, which is like the Mozart guy in the piano hall. He has like cool multiple stages, and
is this a trope now? Because there's always got to be one like music fight.
Oh, sure. I mean,
because Luigi's Mansion 1 has a music room.
I mean, that makes sense, though, right? Yeah. But yeah, he has a cool fight. He possesses the piano. Mario 64 reference clearly. And then he slams the ground, and then a shockwave comes out, and you jump it, and then he fires bombs, and you fire them back into the piano, and then it falls over, and then you flip it over, and then he comes out, and then you chase him around the room a bit. It's like it's kind of a cool multi-stage fight, and that one was fine. It made sense, and sometimes they do telegraph things correctly, like when the bombs come out and you fire the bomb back in, the piano flips up onto its side on the edge of the stage, and there's like a circle in the middle of the bottom of the piano where you're meant to fire your plunger, because the circle is like the universal symbol for where you're firing plungers at. It's like that's fine.
Is this how all plumbing works?
Yes, clearly.
It's like Luigi, being a plumber, would be
well
aware of this. Yeah.
But it's like that one's fine, but some of these other ones they just don't. And the same problem sort of extends even into the environment. Like at the start of the medieval castle section where you fight that guy at the end, you come out onto a bit that overlooks the arena, and it's like there's a gate on the right which you can't go through. And if you look at the map, or if you've played video games enough, you might realize that that's like the exit gate.
Right.
It's like I'm going to come out of that when I'm done with this area, clearly. And then on the left, there's another door, but it's got like bars over it, so you can't go in there. And I kind of
bars. It's a Luigi job, right?
No, it's not, wrong kind of bars. It's not like it's literally like blocking the door rather than being bars that you could go through the door.
Right.
But like I didn't really get stuck here. I think I did for a little bit, but like I've seen several videos of other people playing this bit, and several other people have this problem where you walk around and like there's a chest to open, and there's like you can vacuum up watermelons from this fruit stand and fire them at armor, and the armor breaks and money comes out, as everything does, as money does.
Money.
But like, and then they're like, okay, so how the hell do you open this door? And they're just wandering around. But the thing is that the door only opens through a sequence, and the sequence only triggers if you walk far enough forwards onto this little like semicircle sticky out bit that overlooks the arena. And that semicircular sticky out bit has like nothing in it. There's like no objects in there, so there's no reason for you to walk into that area to trigger this sequence. Yeah, it's like they've actually sort of made a UI error.
Yeah, that sounds like a flaw.
But that seems to be like that kind of thing happens sometimes.
Yeah, those things definitely. Can't think of an example off the top of my head, but there's definitely been games I've played where that happens, right? Where you walk into a room and you have a cursory scan with your own eyes,
yes,
and you look at it and go, "There's nothing interesting for me here yet. I'm gonna leave." And then actually, what the game wants you to do is to walk like into the middle of the room precisely, and then something will happen.
Yeah, a sequence.
And so you end up spending like far too much time then faffing around with where else you can go.
Yeah.
Because it should have just done a thing as you entered the room.
Yeah, exactly. That trigger should have been on the entry to the room, not at this arbitrary location.
Yeah, that really winds me out. That does.
So yeah, that's the kind of thing that I feel about this game is there's just occasional bits like that where it's like
not quite polished.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's not quite polished. It's like not quite understanding how a human plays a game. I don't know what you call that exactly.
Yeah. Do you think it's because? Well, maybe it's for, like, as you said, it's the sort of seasoned gamer thing, where it's like you look at it and go, yep, nothing interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Whereas if you're a cash, maybe you're a filthy casual, you just sort of wander in and be like, oh, what's this room? Like, sure. Sorry, I painted that in a terrible light, but...
It's like, it is just the fact that there was literally nothing in that semicircle area. That was there. I mean, there's a bin, like, right next to it, and obviously you walk up and you interact with the bin and then money comes out. This is the theme of Luigi's Mansion. Money comes out.
You think the overlook would be the?
If they just moved that bin like 10 feet further along to be in the overlook, problem solved.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, because you'd go to it.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention that's not really a problem, but is kind of hella weird, is like the controls. Because obviously it's a Luigi's Mansion game; they've all had weird controls. The first one because it had to, and then the second one because it was on the 3DS, I guess.
Yeah, they had to change it a bit, didn't they, for that? Because they couldn't rely on dual analog.
Yeah, that was the thing. But this one has like, the weird thing about it has settings, but like not real settings. It has Nintendo settings, as you do. So the default controls. At first, I thought they were weird, but then I realized it's just first-person shooter controls, except it's not a first-person shooter, so it doesn't work. Right stick causes you to rotate.
But that's how the first one worked, right?
Yeah, but it causes Luigi to rotate, like, depending.
Car control.
Yeah, well, like, kind of tank control, I guess. Mm. But, like, it is just, like, normal first-person shooter commands, but because it's a fixed perspective third-person camera, it's like, that's just weird.
I'm pretty sure that's how the first game worked.
But it's also, it's also doubly weird because if you don't touch the right stick, he resets his facing.
He goes into Mario style.
Yeah, so then when you start moving the right stick again, you've like recentered yourself.
You. Yeah, no, that sounds identical to the first game.
But it's like, it's fine, but it's like still really kind of confusing. But what's weirder about it is the options you can set, because that option is known as omnidirectional, where the right stick does rotate left and right and look up and down. You can change that setting to horizontal only.
So it only does the rotate? Or
that's what you'd think, but no. So obviously horizontal only implies that motion controls become involved.
Oh no, does it become twin stick then, but without the look
Yes,
up?
Right. It turns into twin stick because it removes the up and down from the stick and puts it on motion controls, and then the right stick just becomes a pointer.
Oh. Well, that actually sounds all right.
Yeah, it's like way better as far as I'm concerned. But it's so weird that like it pretty much just does completely change how that game controls, and not in an obvious way, judging by the name of this control setting. But
that sounds Splatoon-y. Yeah, like, I can get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't like motion controls, but I've always thought the up and down was perfectly fine in Splatoon as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just weird. And then there's the other option you can set is whether you lock your direction when you start vacuuming, or any of your other buttons that cause the vacuum to do things like the flash bulb or whatever. You can have yourself get locked in a direction, or you can have it so it just continues to follow the left stick, which I think is better. Mainly so you can charge the bulb and turn around, because that's kind of important. So yeah, it's kind of a weird controlling game in general, but it now that it actually has dual sticks and it's not a C stick or a button on the 3DS, it's like now it can actually function like a real game.
Did they ever support new 3? Did it predated new 3?
Yeah, for quite a long way.
Right. Okay. So
I don't know if they did patch it back
so it
in.
wouldn't have support for the little nubbin.
Yeah, I don't know if they might have made that work.
Because
but it wasn't.
As you know, I never got around to actually playing your copy that
Yes.
you lent me for like a god knows how long.
Yep.
On my new 3DS.
But it didn't matter in 2 because it was designed to function within that limit. You had a button, and the button was just look up.
Oh, I see.
And that was,
that was all
the game was designed to manage that.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's good that they actually do. I'm actually kind of happy that they support the original control scheme. Like,
maybe if you obviously, I did play some of Luigi's Mansion 1, but obviously I'm not that familiar with it. So maybe it's like if you,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, maybe you would have known. Like, maybe if I played that more, I would have been more used to those controls, and 2 would have seemed weird at the time.
Man, Luigi's Mansion 1 is such a great game. It's like tiny in comparison.
Well, yeah, sure.
But it's like it's such a tight experience. Like, all of the ghosts you come across are so... I mean, yeah, you've got the bog standard ones that are just hovering around every now and then.
Yeah.
But like the ones you're actively trying to capture and you only capture once, they're all unique and they're all great.
Yeah. That's what the boss fights are now, I guess. It's not quite the same as Luigi's Mansion 1, where they were just sort of there.
It was a family in the mansion.
Yeah.
Right? Or, the previous owners or something.
There were a couple of things that you would call actual boss fights, obviously.
Sure, there were a few.
The baby or whatever.
There were like 3-ish across the entire game.
And I think maybe the other slight... it's not really
there's a few more than that. Yeah.
It's not really a problem, but it's just a thing that it maybe sort of misdirects you to, is that it's hella linear. Obviously.
Right, yeah.
Because they, even in the first one, was kind of hella linear because of the keys.
Sort of, and you kind of went to different floors, and like the floors were kind of the linearity a little bit.
But
this
one kind of kind of tricks you at the start, because the way you're progressing is you're getting the missing buttons for the elevator to allow you to access the new floors of the hotel.
Right.
And right at the start, the first boss ghost you do gives you the buttons for 1 and 5. So it's like it gives you this idea that, well, maybe it's not going to be fully linear, but that's the only time that happens, and every other time it's just been the next consecutive number up.
Right.
So it's like, oh well, never mind.
So 2, 3, and 4 are the optional floors.
No,
except they're not optional because you need them to get to 6.
Yeah, you have to go through them in order.
Right.
And 2 isn't even really a floor, which was weird. This was another one of those situations where there weren't that many ghosts, because the way the floors are laid out is 1 is like the lobby of the hotel, and then 2 is like the restaurant area, I guess. But it's connected by a staircase from the first floor, so you can walk.
You can just go there.
You can walk to floor 2 pretty much immediately. You can't get to the actual restaurant part until you have the plunger, but that happens pretty quickly as well. But then you can just go to there and wander around, and there's nothing there until the game eventually tells you to go there, and it's like, oh, now the boss has spawned.
It's spooky.
Now the chef is in the kitchen.
Oh, it's weird. Yeah, some of it. They do feel like odd decisions in a way, because it's like, why not just shut it off somehow? Like, just have a key, just have the Luigi shaky hand animation.
Well, they did though. That's the thing. You need the plunger to be able to access that bit, but you can do that, and it's still not that point in the game.
Yeah, that stuff annoys me, because it's like because it only annoys me really because the first game didn't do that. Right? They're like, pretty much every area always had the problem. You might not have been able to deal with it yet.
Yeah.
But the area would always be spooky in some way until you cleared it.
And it's also weird if you go back to areas you've already been to. Sometimes there'll be new ghosts. Sometimes there'll be more fights.
Oh, really?
Actually, sometimes there'll be more fights than there were originally when you went through the area. It's just like, oh, now there's these ghosts are here.
I've unlocked hard mode.
But they're like pointless. There's no reason to fight these ghosts because they're not important ghosts, and all they can give you is a tiny amount of money, which is, I mean, I guess, but it's like a really tiny amount of money. It's not even like the amount of money that comes out of a bin.
I'm trying to think. I think that stuff was like the regular ghosts were limited to corridors.
Yeah,
in the first
think
game,
so.
and so if you went into a room you'd cleared before, it would be a safe space.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember.
I'm pretty sure that's how that worked.
Did they remastered that or
Yeah, they
re-release it?
It's on the Switch.
It's on the yeah.
You could have played it before this one if you
Could.
really wanted
They
to.
could have done.
But yeah, apart from those weird like niggles that are just like weird in this very specific way, it's a perfectly fine game, and I'm only halfway through it. Although it's like the only reason that I haven't got through more of it, I feel like, is because like I don't know if this specific locked camera third person view agrees with me. It's like I start getting some amount of nausea, but not like real nausea. But
Really?
I just can't really play it for as long as I usually would a game.
But it's like fixed angle, right? You're always looking from one orientation most of the time.
Most of the time, the camera will sweep around to zoom in on a specific angle when it needs to.
Sure.
And sometimes that can be kind of distracting. But yeah. Oh, and Luigi, of course. Forgot to mention the important mechanic of the game.
Luigi. Are there any death stairs?
There was an escalator that got really fast.
Well, no Luigi death stairs.
Oh, no.
No, not death stairs. No Luigi death stair.
Well, I mean, arguably Luigi has a pretty death stare because he never has any expression ever,
No,
which
right.
they play on in a sequence a couple of times.
That's kind of
Where
cool.
like a goose, where a ghost comes out of the wall and tries to scare Luigi, and he's just like, he doesn't care. Which doesn't really make any sense because it's just Luigi controlling. Well, in single player anyway, it's just Luigi controlling Luigi. He goes into like a sleep pose when you switch between them, which also they actually account for. Like if you pick up like a key or whatever, like an important item while you're Luigi, and Luigi is still on screen, Luigi does like a half animation, like he does a thumbs up, but like a sleepy thumbs up.
Oh, cool! Oh, that's awesome.
And they
Like oh man, you've just reminded me like the key music from the first game.
Yep,
That weird like horn
jingle. Yep,
it's like oh, so good.
and they also do that in an actual sequence where like Luigi defeats a boss, boss that you have to fight as Luigi, and then it zooms out to where Luigi is, and he's like, "Oh, what? I just won? Okay."
So he sort of. I guess maybe he is like in a dreamlike state the whole time. Then when it's Luigi.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Although the more worrying part about how Luigi is like Luigi and this thing is there's a section where you have to use Luigi to go through these bars to collect a variety of keys. And if you don't walk him back out through the bars and you retrieve him, he leaves the key behind.
Oh.
But you can, when he picks up a key, he does the normal Luigi putting a thing away animation, but you can still see the key inside him. And then you're like,
that's cool.
But then you're like, but then what's Luigi doing? What's Luigi doing when he's doing that animation? Do you want to know?
That's cool though. I like that. I like that a lot. These little details every now and then that are just like, oh man, that's it.
And the graphics are good, obviously, because it's a Nintendo Switch game. They do a good job, good lighting and all that stuff. They're obviously kind of important for having a torch that is always there.
Yeah. Gotta be for a spooky game.
Yes, so that's fine. I mean, as far as the story goes, it's the exact same story again. King Boo, portraits, all that stuff.
So that's super obvious from the start, is it?
Well, I mean, at the very start, they do the classic fake out where it's a nice hotel, and then you go to sleep and it becomes spooky.
Of course.
And then the hotel owner is actually a ghost, really obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But then the whole reason that she invites you there because she loves King Boo, apparently. So she released King Boo from the painting that he got trapped in at the end of Luigi's Mansion 2, because she also lured Egan to this same hotel to steal the painting with all the ghosts that you captured in Luigi's Mansion 2. So basically this whole game is Luigi's Mansion 2 because you just moved it to a hotel, because all of the ghosts and King Boo are the ones from Luigi's Mansion 2, literally. And then King Boo's like, I've trapped all your friends in paintings again, because apparently that's what we do.
Yeah.
And then Luigi runs away and somehow doesn't get captured.
We have no better use for this, other than putting Mario in it.
Yep.
Actually, in fairness, they went, Mario 64 proved you can put anything in a painting. You put a whole bloody world in a painting.
Well, I mean, Luigi's Mansion, when you shine the dark light on the paintings of money and money comes out of them. The dark light is from Luigi's Mansion 2.
Money painting.
Yeah, there's a lot. The money coming out of everything reminded me. There was this joke from Penny Arcade. I don't know if it was actually made it into the strip or whether it was in one of their podcasts. But they made a joke about one of the older Devil May Cries, how absolutely everything in Devil May Cry is full of demon blood.
Yeah, red orbs. Yeah.
And that's basically Luigi's Mansion, apart from its money. Everything is just full of money.
Well, they actually sort of moved away from that in Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, I noticed when I was watching it, because the demon blood is now conveniently congealed onto a little tree thing.
Yeah. You can't just break everything.
It's not just in a bin.
Because I spent a lot of time in Devil May Cry 4 like destroying chairs, hoping the green stuff would come out.
Yep, more demon blood.
I need some health.
But yeah, everything has money in Luigi's Mansion. And everything is money, like rats. Flash them with the flashlight, turn them money.
That their symbolism for business.
Well, all the small critters turn into money if you flash them. Rats, crows, spiders.
Okay.
Snakes.
At least for spiders, there is actually a money spider. Ayo!
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I'm expecting this game to continue to be perfectly fine. I mean, the themes... The level themes are like kind of cool, I guess. I mean, it doesn't make sense that it's in a hotel. They should have made it a haunted theme park.
Right.
Especially with this like whole medieval section where it's like, the classic torture chambers and you go into this arena to fight the night dude at the end. Like, it's a very classic medieval castle thing that you might see in a theme park. So it's randomly in a hotel. And the movie studio and the garden area. At least the garden area actually has rooms, like an actual hotel. Places where people could have theoretically stayed at some point with beds and bathrooms. Not like the castle where it's just a castle and the movie studio where it's just a movie studio. So yeah, that's Luigi's Mansion. I expect I'll probably finish it, because why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't you?
It's not that difficult, also. Apart from the confusion, it's not actually a difficult game.
Sure. Sounds good, though.
Yep. And then, other things I played, I briefly played some Minecraft again, because of more mod packs. I've been discovering that, like, a lot of the mod packs that I don't know the name of, when I look at a new list of, like, what's the popular mod pack at the moment, and I look through the list of mods, and it's like, I don't recognize some of these, so I'll go in. I've been starting to realize that a lot of them are just, like, the new versions of old mods, mods that have been abandoned and have just been remade,
right.
And they now have a new name.
Because someone else made them.
Yeah, because someone else remade the whole thing. Like, it used to be called Simple Reactors, and now it's Nuclear Craft. It used to be called Industrial Craft, and now it's Greg Tech. It used to be called Equivalent Exchange, and now it's Project E.
Greg Tech. Is that like Gary's mod?
If only. It's actually just Industrial Craft. Industrial Craft was super old, though. That was like one of the first, like, real attempts at making a sort of, mechanics heavy mod for Minecraft with cables and all that kind of stuff. Before the Forge existed, which made that kind of thing much easier. So yeah, I went into some other bits of mod packs and fiddled around and looked at weird things in Minecraft to actually do. And that was more or less it. Just Luigi's Mansion was all I needed to talk about for a long time.
Good. No, it's interesting. It's good stuff.
Sweet.
So, me?
Yep.
Yes.
I guess so.
It's time for you, Rob. What's your big game of the week?
Well,
you need to talk about that game that I referenced earlier that you need to talk
the
about.
Outer Worlds.
Yep. About why it's not Fallout.
But first,
But it kind of is.
But
but
first,
where did I get to with Devil May Cry last episode?
I don't think you really mentioned how far you'd got into it last episode. I think you just talked about it in general.
I think I was about halfway.
Yeah.
If my memory serves me right, I think I was about halfway through. I think I'd got to the Dante stuff.
Yeah.
Which, it was doing the Devil May Cry 4 thing where it's like, oh, hey, Dante.
Yeah.
He's in this game.
Suddenly.
So I finished it. I finished the campaign anyway, like the first play. Like, I suppose it's like all
does it have some fancy new game class, or does it just have difficulty?
Yeah. So it does the same thing that all the Devil May Cries do, in that when you finish it on Devil Hunter mode, which is their like normal mode, you unlock Son of Sparda mode, which is their hard mode.
Right.
And then if you defeat Son of Sparda mode, you then start getting the weirder modes, like so you get Heaven or Hell mode, which is like everything dies in one hit, including you. Which is, I quite enjoyed that in DMC.
Yeah.
That was a fun way to play that, because boss fights even works the same way. It's like that rule was just everywhere. And then once you've done that, you got Hell or Hell and Hell, which is like, you die in one hit, but everything else takes normal hit or an extended amount of damage. So it's really, really bloody difficult. I've stopped.
Okay.
It's like, I played like the first level on Son of Sparda, and it's like, well, it's just like, okay, there's new enemy placement, there's new positions here, but I don't really fancy playing through all of this again. And I'll tell you why. Like, the second half of that game loses style. Like, frustratingly. It does. It's sort of, even though it's not quite the same problem as Devil May Cry 4, where you play the entire game backwards and then play some terrible dice games.
Right.
Devil May Cry 5 suffers from just a lack of variety. Just straight up. Like, by the time you start getting to the second half of the game, you're spending the majority of the game in the Klypov environment. And Klypov is basically what they call the big evil tree in this game. And it's like, well, it just kind of looks like a rocky ass tree when you're in it. Like, just sort of.
And really, even the bits I saw, you were spending a lot of time in like a ruined city and bits of the underground. It's like, that's kind of rocky as well.
So that's actually the outlier, the bit you saw, when I was in like that sort of ruin.
Yeah.
That old ruin. That's the one time that happens in the game. And but it's got a bit of Klypov in there as well.
Well, yeah, it's invading.
Yeah, and it's like, that's kind of the one time the game actually does something different with its aesthetic. It's either city, that ruin, or Klypov tree, and that's kind of it. And you might get different lighting in the Klypov at times.
Sure.
Like, but
they needed more Bayonetta.
Yeah, it's just, it gets real boring after a while. It really does. It's like, I want to be, even though it's all it is set dressing, right, in these games.
Yeah.
Like, but it's just,
I mean,
it just doesn't get interesting. And then even the mission design gets really simple. Like go to place, basically, fight things a long way. It's just not inventive with why you're there. The characters are constantly bickering amongst themselves, basically, to be like, hey, let's all go do this together. And they're like, nope, I don't want to do this together. I'm going to go my own way
different routes.
Because I'm Dante and I'm actually an asshole. It's like that's, or I'm Nero and I must do my revenge plot at any cost. And so they all go and do their own thing, which gives you an excuse to have 3 missions instead of 1 in the same place. It's kind of rubbish, is what I mean. Like, in terms of actual structure, it's kind of bad.
I mean, it seems like they've stepped it back quite a long way. Because, like, I mean, Dante in the earlier games practically could have been Bayonetta in terms of crazy shit that he could have been doing, fighting on the back of jet fighters or whatever.
Yeah, they just don't ever go that way. They don't, like, for all of the talk about being like super stylish and all that stuff, and like having a focus on that in terms of the aesthetic of the game in general.
Yeah.
They then just don't land it with the actual gameplay and where you actually are, and it's or the story it's telling. It never hits that, and it's made extra frustrating because the start of that game has that element. Like, I played the first couple missions of it again in Son of Sparda, and it's like there's a hint of hope. Like, playing it again, there was just like, oh yeah, this game actually starts real well. Like, it's cool. It's got attitude. It's got some cutscenes that are badass, and it's
Mm.
you're being introduced to that Devil Trigger song quite a lot, which is actually pretty good and is growing on me the more I hear it. Is like this could be rad, and then it isn't. It's just like even some of the like the more outlandish stuff I talked about, like the telephone box, like summon the car sequences.
Yeah.
I didn't see a single another one of those since the last time I spoke.
No.
It's like they just stopped, and it just and then it
the
started.
car
relying,
got into the tree, and that was enough.
and that was it. It couldn't go anywhere else in the story, so they didn't summon. You don't summon the car anymore. You just find the divinity statues, which are just glow, and there you go. They're a shop, and it's like even that element of style that you had goes away. It's like it's just the whole thing always feels awkward. Like there's something about the banter between the characters never feels quite right. Like Dante never feels snarky and cool enough. He never, like, half of his one-liners I feel like they never make sense. He just says a thing. Most of Nero's dialogue is, guess I'll do this thing now then.
Or poetry.
Yeah, well no, that's V.
Oh no, that's the other
That's V. V reads poetry.
So third guy.
V is actually one of the better characters, as it turns out. Like, you put all three of them together, and V is actually kind of almost good, I would say. And it's just like, okay, spoilerish kind of discussion now. I'm going to get into it. The story sucks, right? Because basically it's just like, as far as I can tell, the story is, hey, we went to the tree, we found this guy. This guy was super powerful, we all lost.
Yeah.
Let's do that again. We all lost. Let's do that again. Oh, we sort of did a thing this time.
Sounds like Bravely Default.
you just, yeah, kinda. That seems to be the only motivation. There's no reason for it. You're just like, most of the time, you're just going, yeah, let's go fight this guy again because we have to, right? Let's just go do it again. Except along the way, they sort of a couple of little things happen. Like, I don't know, Dante discovers that he doesn't just have Devil Trigger. Oh no, he has like Super Devil Trigger as well, which they call Sin Devil Trigger.
Right.
And it's like, so there's like an extra, they've gone like Super Saiyan or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
like God form Saiyan. Well, I get lost in the Dragon Ball stuff, but it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's like a level 2. And it's like, so that his power level increased.
So
there's that. And they actually end up then, where some of the stuff that's revealed towards the end of the game is actually vaguely interesting. And it's like, a bit of me was like, well, if you did that stuff at the halfway point and then made more of that for the second half, it's like a dynamic evolves that's actually really kind of good, but it happens right at the end.
They needed to write in some more MacGuffins.
I guess, yeah. I mean, Lady and Trish are there just to say, hey, we put the ladies here. And we wrapped them up in a bad guy at one point, and you free them from the bad guys. And hey, let's have some gratuitous nudity.
Okay. Yep.
That's the only reason they're there. It just cements the fact that I just don't get why this franchise is as big as it is. Other games in the genre are just better. They just are. Drop your fanboyism.
I think this is the time to be saying that. With the Pokemon situation going on.
Do you think it is
DMC
that
had a
like
story.
the early ones were the best in the genre, and therefore people got attached to them?
Maybe,
now...
but then DMC, like Devil May Cry 2, is like considered the worst, right?
Yeah,
it's like, and you could argue Devil May Cry 1 doesn't really hold up now because it's like,
well, no, not now, but I'm just saying
it's a bit
What
clunky.
does?
Yeah.
It's whether it was good at the time. That's why the fanboys start.
It was good at the time. It was kind of unique at the time. And I can respect it for that, right? It was doing something a bit new. It was doing something with a bit of attitude that in a way that hadn't been done quite as well. It hadn't been executed quite as well as the first game had done. It was a step forward for the character action genre. But man, Platinum Games have just ruined them. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, Bayonetta's the one. Even Ninja Theory, I think, showed me how it should be done. Like, I can't I just can't step away from it. It's so hard. I'm trying to appreciate this game in the same way everyone else does, but I just don't see it. And I just think some of the boss fights, especially some of the later ones in this game, are just straight up bad and just awkward. And there's something about the fact that the way attacks are timed, where it's like, okay, don't get me wrong, I see there is a way to perfect these fights. There is a way to absolutely nail how you're doing things. But it's crazy not obvious, like, half the time. It's like, okay, where is the moment I'm supposed to dodge this attack? Because I thought I was supposed to be on the offensive right now, but then they just have some attack that comes out of nowhere, and you're like, that goes half my health. You know, it's just the telegraphing thing, right? It's like, it's occasionally not really good at that.
Or even that boss fight that I saw you do, it's just like,
okay, which one was that? You'll have to try
the first time you get the super devil trigger or whatever, where you fight that big walkie dude, and he has the tentacles that come out.
Big walkie.
Wait,
so I was I was flying. The first time you're flying, effectively, yeah.
But like his that attack where the tentacles come out.
Yeah, he's like the bad guy you see at the start of the game.
When the tentacles come out, they come, even though that's like telegraphing an attack, they come out so like slowly, but like they weave around, and then it's like, when is this hit going to happen?
Yeah, the hit point is really tricky, and a lot of the attacks are like that. A lot of them will have like a wind up that's like either excessively long or just have a sweep that some attacks will just be so big that they go off screen and then come back. And it's Urizen himself. A lot of the fights with him, he has like area of effect attacks that he just summons on the floor. But because the way he's so tall and you're so small, the camera can be pointed up. A lot of the time, you don't see the points on the floor where the attacks are coming from. It's like, I don't know. I really want it to be better than it is, but it just isn't. It winds me up. It's frustrating. It's a very frustrating experience, because it's like the ingredients are there. They're just not tasting nice together.
Good. Finish that analogy.
So I think I'm done with that. I don't think I'm going to play anymore. I dabbled going back into it here and there, but it has got a draw of sorts, but I think that's more hope than it is fun.
Well, I think
even though I've now gone through it,
you've pretty much extinguished that hope conclusively.
Yeah, it's weird. So let's talk about Outer Worlds.
Yeah, we probably should. Why did you end up playing that? Is the first question I want to ask.
Game Pass, yo.
Well, okay, I guess that makes sense.
It's just there.
I wouldn't have thought I would have been on Game Pass.
I know, pretty cool.
I guess now Microsoft own Obsidian. It's like
I suppose that was probably what they paid money for,
right? Yeah, it falls under their all first-party games, even though it's not strictly a first-party game this time.
Yeah.
They all fall under the we're going to launch it, so they must have done some deal with.
You were playing it on PC, right?
I'm playing the PC version. Yeah.
Is that through the Windows Store?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was wondering, because it's an Epic exclusive, but not really.
But not really, no.
Yeah.
Because you can get it through the Windows Store.
But I was wondering if it was like one of those double launcher situations or something, where it was still running the Epic launcher behind the Windows Store.
No, it isn't. No, it's entirely through. So you have to use, on Windows 10, you have to use the Xbox Beta app,
right,
to get it Game Pass. Because it's the PC version of Game Pass is still technically in beta.
Yeah.
So this is separate from the regular Xbox app that comes with Windows 10. You have to go out of your way to get this thing, to get the Xbox app, and then I believe once you've said yes, it will download through the Windows Store,
right,
application, or that download mechanism, which has given me grief in the past. That download mechanism is not good.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's worked absolutely fine. It was dodgy as hell for Creature in the Well, I'll tell you that. But for this, it's been absolutely fine. So I'm playing it on PC. I think it's a weird looking game. I think it's a good looking game, but it's a weird looking game.
In terms of something about aesthetics, or
like the color palette of the planets is kind of. It's very pink.
Well, I think that was
it's quite pink.
I think that was probably intentional in let's get away from the Fallout browns.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely more colourful, and I appreciate that over Fallout. But it's like I'd always call it like it's like a watercolor palette, but not presented in like as if the medium wasn't watercolor. Like it's hard to describe. It's like sort of muted, but also colorful. It's to a certain extent, a bit of me thinks it's like, okay, they've taken it, but then they've like next gen filtered it a little bit, just a little bit, like to dull it down from being like just outright.
Well, they didn't want it to be Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah,
they turned it down just a little
yeah,
bit.
just a touch. But also, I think like the temporal anti-aliasing that's on it is very strong as well. As in, like everything looks a bit too blurred together. It's like it doesn't look sharp on my screen. Like I'm only playing it on a 1080 screen, but it's like but yeah, it's like that the TAA is just that little bit too turned up. So it ends up with this sort of murky look to it. It's got a little bit of grime, let's say, and I don't know. In some places that feels intentional, but when it's like the nature-y sort of look, I'm not sure it sits right. But it's when you could put it next to Fallout, it's like it's a better looking game.
Well,
like, it looks good. I think the character faces in particular look quite nice, even though it's obvious they're all sort of been built within this character generation system because they've all got none of the mouths are like hand animated, right? It's got one of those like Mass Effect style. The mouths will animate to canned dialogue because there's quite a lot of dialogue going on. I'm trying to think where to even begin with this, really. Like, yeah, we've done the visuals because that's like easy to judge and all that kind of stuff. And it's I like that they've gone. I suppose this is more aesthetic as well. It's like it's slightly odd, I think, just how Fallouty the aesthetic is. Actually,
yeah, I know. That's what I felt from the trailers and everything. It's like because it's weird.
Yeah, like I thought that maybe they were going to keep the visual aesthetic, like because we'd seen that right from the trailers. The bit that you don't also get is that like a lot of the audio, like for the corporations and stuff like that, is also very 50s, right?
They've got all the jingles and things.
Yeah, the jingles are all done that style, like barbershop style, or like the audio quality of transmissions and stuff is often quite grungy in that sort of radio-y way.
We had this shit in BioShock as well. I mean,
yeah. There's a lot of there's actually quite a lot of BioShock similarities. Like even in the UI, the way the UI looks is very BioShock in places.
But is this one meant to be? Is this meant to intentionally be like that because of the universe? Like, is it an in-universe reason for that, or is that just never explained? Because
honestly, I don't know.
In Fallout, it actually is the 50s, but nuclear powered.
That's
where that all comes from.
Yeah. Whereas this, I've had no lore reason to explain why it's like this. Like, did we get to space like super early or something, and then
it's an alternate timeline, or is it from the current day to the future?
Timeline is never really explicitly mentioned. It's like the plot line for you as a player is like you've been in stasis for at least 70 years, give or take, on an abandoned colony ship. They sent 2 colony ships out to this area, but only one of them got through, and your one started drifting. And it was in corporate interest to just sort of forget that thing ever existed.
It's literally the story of Freelancer.
Oh, is it? I sort of forgot that.
They send the colony ships from Earth, and the 3 that make it become the United States, right. Britain, and Japan. And then the 4th one that gets lost and turns up later. Oh, and German. I forgot there was 4. Fine. The 5th one that turns up later is where all the pirates come from.
Ah, right.
Because they get stuck in a shitty solar system with like this weird planet that's got this drug in the atmosphere that makes everyone permanently addicted. So they all become criminals. That's literally the story of Freelancer.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Yep.
So it's they don't explain any of that. You're just sort of like you're the other ship, and it's like but that no one knows about. They call it it's the Hope, and it's known that it never made it. Right, because there's a bar in one of the first places. The second place you visit called the Lost Hope, right? So it's a well-known thing that thing never.
But why was it important though?
That's the bit we don't really know because it's like it's not really explained. You're rescued by that crazy scientist from the trailers, and he then puts you to work. Supposedly, and I'm going to put this in giant quotation marks because I think this is a ruse. And like supposedly with the end goal of bringing down the corporations and acquiring enough chemicals so that the rest of the colony ship can be brought out of cryostasis without suffering explosive cell death.
Okay.
Because like you're not supposed to be in cryostasis for that long.
Right.
And he only had enough to resurrect one person, and he picked you. Supposedly.
But then why does he even
supposedly.
care about the colony ship?
Yeah, exactly. It's that. That is the huge question mark that resides over the entire plot line right now. It's like I think that's a bit of a driving force problem for me in that there's no why.
Yeah, it's like it could be a big reveal at the end, like the actual reason this is all going on, but because there's absolutely no hint to it, there's just like it's going to be a twist without any kind of foreshadowing at all.
Yeah, I don't know why I exist. I don't know why I'm doing the things. I don't know why I'm supposedly as powerful as I am in this world.
Yeah, why were you the one that was chosen? And because clearly you are super awesome.
I'm just capable of turning the tides on entire cultures and entire colonies. Like I can just do things. Like
although that's just Fallout, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But it's just like it feels so off that everyone is so rubbish compared to you. Like it's weird. Like I'm getting odd vibes from it. Like in the sense that I don't really think it's a feel-good game.
Right.
And to the point where every decision you make in that game, you kind of feel bad about.
I guess that's also Fallout.
Yeah. It's like, it's fairly well known what the like first major decision is in that game. And there's basically two colonies. There's one colony and its deserters. The deserters have gone off to live a peaceful life and have learnt how to farm the land in this inhospitable planet. Whereas the corporations still want to run this cannery effectively.
So you have to go and blow them up.
No. You need your ship that you're trying to. What's the word? Requisition, I suppose. It's like because you accidentally killed the pilot.
Right.
The ship you need needs a power regulator. So the decision you have to make is basically to cut power to one of these two settlements and then nick their regulator.
Right.
And it's like you either go corporate, potentially ruining the lives of all the people that live there,
yeah,
or you support the deserters, who are clearly living the better life and are the better people, quote unquote, but you're helping the minority rather than the masses in a way, because it's like there'll be so many more people output by what you do by cutting the power to the. And the deserters are always a bit like, well, hey, we're not going to let just anyone come to us. It's like, so, you will be stranding these people at Edgewater. And it's like, so it's suddenly the whole thing. And then they lay it on pretty thick, to be honest. It's like, so like I chose the deserters thinking they were the nicer people. But then when you go back to Edgewater to nick the power regulator, it's like, there's a proper guilt trip, like, thrown at you. Like in terms of like what people say to you and how it goes and all that stuff, and it's and the reactions you get, and then that comes up a couple times as well as if you meander the environment as well, they'll be like, "Oh, I know you," like that.
Well,
kind
I'm sure
of
it wouldn't have been any different if you'd done it the other way.
No, probably not. but that's exactly what I mean. Is like either way you play that segment, kind of going to feel bad in some way, and all you really need is a way to go on and play the rest of the game.
Yeah, but isn't that isn't that better than the alternative, which would be like the old Fallout 3 one, where if you nuke Megatown or don't?
Oh, right, sure.
Megaton, where it's like you can either disable the nuke in the middle of this town and then that town continues to exist and everyone's fine, or you blow it the fuck up for money. It's like, isn't the better option to have these two towns and then one of them will always exist and it's perfectly alright? And maybe some people are pissed off, but there's always going to be pissed off people.
There's always going to be something. Yeah, I guess. It's just that they throw it at you so early. Like, you have this power super early in the game to, like, disrupt it. And I kind of just want to settle in a bit. You know?
I guess if you're making a decision without like knowing the situation as well as you could, maybe that is.
I mean, you know quite a lot of detail. You talk to quite a lot of people.
Sure, I mean you're going to.
And you optionally can go talk to both sides. You don't have to. You can go and just screw one of the sides over without ever encountering them if you want to. Which is kind of funny, I guess. But there's a sort of, I guess I'd describe it as a sort of detachment. Like, whilst they're trying to lay it on thick, I never feel like I'm truly involved with this world.
Well, you kind of aren't, though, are you? That's like you're the outsider.
Exactly, and it's kind of the point, but it's also, I think it's causing me a bit of an immersion problem. I think because I'm just like, I don't know why I'm doing any of this. I'm just sort of meandering. It's turning into a bit of like a, I don't know, like a loot shooter or something like that, or an MMO grind where I'm just in it for the better stuff. And
It's the Fallout.
Yeah.
Like as I said, this game is like Fallout, but not as bad.
and I think it's compounded by the fact that I think like I've heard a lot of reports of people saying, yeah, but the writing is so good, and I'm like, I think it's okay.
Right.
Like I don't think it's like groundbreaking, and I think I understand why. It's like I don't think any of the writing is outright bad, but I think most of the characters in that game feel like the same character. Right. To me, anyway. Like they all have this. There's like a way that things have been written that ends up feeling far too samey, which has the flip side of like when you do finally find a character that is quite different, they stand out,
right?
Which is nice. But there's so few of them. Like everyone seems the same. Like all the townsfolk you go and speak to are a bit like, oh yeah, I'm just going to tell you my life story and everything about the place. Okay, cool. Can you go get this cigarette lighter for me? Great, thanks, bye. Like it's like they're just all too happy to say everything about everything and not really have an opinion about it. And then every now and then you'll get someone who's actually kind of important who will have a bit of an opinion. But there's always that sort of like the way jokes are told. It will be like say something, awkward pause, correction, or like I'm about to say a funny thing, pause before the awkward word, say the awkward word. Like the humor is a bit predictable, and maybe that's undercut by the fact that I have subtitles turned on, right?
So you can see the pauses coming.
It's sort of, yeah. But they're not like written as pause.
Well, no.
But like maybe some of the delivery is lost on me, but it's as a result of that. Like I just don't know. It's like I see that it is a good game. And I wouldn't say I'm not enjoying my time with it. I'm still feeling the draw. I still want to go back to it. I still, like, if I had a choice of what I want to do right now, it's probably going to be play that.
Good.
But I wouldn't say I'm swept away.
I wonder how different it would have been if you'd actually played Fallout 4.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if I'd look at this and go, oh my god, this is leagues better.
Or would Fallout 4 have just burnt you out enough that you started playing this and you'd been like, oh no, this is too much like Fallout 4.
This is a Fallout, yeah. I mean, there's just there's clearly some stuff that's like just so Fallouty, right? Like the whole character creation thing is like, I find so baffling. Like
because you never see them.
Not the stats side. The stats side's fine, but it's like you never see your own character unless you're in the character screen. And even then, unless you've turned off the option to turn off the helmets.
Yeah.
You don't see your face. It's like you make yourself a face. There's like an editor for making a face, but it's completely worthless. You might as well have just gone first person the entire time, and never showed me my character. Like, because it doesn't matter. It's like you pick man or woman, but that has no impact at all, other than perhaps like, the occasional dialogue where they just refer to you as she or he. That's it. It doesn't matter. Like, when you get hurt, you might scream in a lady voice. It's I don't know, that whole creation step, at least to that element, is just baffling. Like, why is it here? It doesn't need to be here. You could have just picked generic guy. You don't even speak, right? It's one of those. It's like Fallout where your lines aren't spoken. You read them. Yeah, you read them, and and your line is given to you in full. Unlike the Mass Effect system where you pick a sentence.
Yeah,
right?
Back to the KOTOR system. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Or the Fallout system. I like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not
works,
cinematic as Mass Effect. I can see why they changed tack for Mass Effect, but
it's like I think to my taste it does lose something because, like, okay, yeah, that makes the conversations more predictable to a certain extent, but you know, because you're saying supposedly.
Well, it means you can pick something with nuance rather than like the Mass Effect system where it's like positive, negative, whatever. Sure. Yeah.
And even then, like when you're using things that are outright positive and negative, they're probably tied to a dialogue skill. So it's like if you want to be angry, like that might come under the intimidate skill. So and it will be clearly labeled that this is an intimidate action.
Yeah. Persuade or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So which is nice because and you get, although the game has a the game persuades you to use those actions because there's an experience bonus for using them.
Right.
So it's like even if sometimes I've looked at the options and thought, no, I don't want to be the arsehole, but those extra experience points.
Does it really matter that much?
No,
But are they
that's
experience points, like
actually-
general experience points, or are they like arsehole points to improve your arsehole ability in the future?
It's straight up XP,
Oh, that's weird.
but you do get more XP for just doing missions.
They're setting up for speed runs, like in Skyrim, where there's a hella glitch with the speech challenge where you can just get infinite XP at one certain guy.
Oh, really?
So that's the way you speedrun Skyrim.
I wonder. I think I might actually know of a couple of places where that might be possible.
There's got to be all kinds of broken places in Skyrim, right?
Yeah.
Dagger.
Dagger.
Yeah, I think that. Okay, so yeah, I think the gunplay is serviceable. It doesn't feel particularly impactful. Like when you shoot, they're kind of bullet spongy. Again, like Fallout, they don't really react to getting shot all that much. It's a little bit like numbers come off people's heads and all that stuff. And you've got the tactical time dilation, which is a little bit like that, where you aim at people and you kind of have to unlock the ability to see what your shot is going to do. Because you can use TTD, as it's called, right from the start of the game, but the benefits of it are, other than being able to stop in the middle of a fight, they're not quite so clear until perhaps you put some points into guns or something, and then it'll be like, oh, now you get the TTD like effect bonuses for hitting certain areas. Now you can see what those bonuses are when you're paused. Like those are perks. So I kind of haven't used it because I haven't felt I've needed to, because I'm powerful enough that I can just walk into a fight, and I'm finding guns that I can just walk into a place and go like bang bang bang, yep, I win.
It's slightly more linear than Fallout, right? Is what we said.
I think well, to a point. Like, so the first area, that's, you kind of have to make that decision in order to start the game.
Right.
You have to do that area. And then you get led to a second area. But once you're at that second area, there's a few things you can discover there where you can branch off and do things in certain orders. Like I've got two. I think the main quest line is fairly linear,
but it is still like,
but there's so much side stuff going on.
It is still like areas,
and
they are still sort of unlocked as you progress.
Yeah, you need like there's often like a story reason for why you haven't got the ability to dock, or you haven't got the clearance to land at a certain place.
Because that's the thing. What, like, if you feel powerful, that's kind of limited by that system. Because in Fallout, it's like, because you can go anywhere, whenever. That's why you need to build your character's power up, because you can't actually go anywhere at any time.
You walk into a place and just get immediately owned, and it's like, I haven't had that problem at all here. Like, I don't know if it's doing like level scaling or any of that stuff. Like, I don't know how that's working exactly.
You want to use your TTD to cripple legs. That's the trick. That's the Fallout trick.
It's never felt necessary. Like, maybe playing in normal mode isn't actually the way to play this game. Maybe you're supposed to play it in hard. And then if you want to, you can make it a straight up survival game. And play it in supernova mode. Like where there's hunger and
like Fallout,
and sleep requirements. And
although I think that was a mod in Fallout, not actual Fallout.
Right. Which is interesting in itself.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to play it that way, you totally can. Oh, and there's permadeath for your companions. Which sounds rough because they die all the time.
Yeah.
There was a great moment where I thought I was being like really clever, and there was this big enemy I could see in a sort of pen. Like, it was one of those scenarios where like, we kept bad animals, and the bad animals eventually went bad.
Yeah, then we unlocked the gate and have it come out and kill everyone.
Yeah, so there was like a nasty one in like a pen that was like, the gate was just open. No. It's just like it sat there, and it's like, but there was like a line of mines, like all the way up to the entrance, and I was thinking, okay, I could probably just aggro this from here, right? And it will just walk through the minefield.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, the game's doing some fun stuff with like perhaps some tactical combat and all that stuff. No, what actually happened is you have to be very careful about what settings you've got set for your companions. So I aggroed the fight, and they ran straight into the fight and blew up all the mines themselves.
Yep, that sounds like traditional AI.
And just killed themselves, like, straight up. And be like, all right, great, I'll just deal with this fight by myself then. Cheers, guys. It was really dumb. It's just like, there hasn't been many moments like that where I sort of looked at a fight and thought, you know what, there's probably a fun way of doing this. And then just the AI just ruined it. It's just... So it's an interesting game, especially coming from me who's never played a Fallout properly.
And that's probably to your benefit.
It is probably to my benefit. Encumbrance sucks. I'll say that much. So I'm basically like, whenever I get a perk point that could alleviate my encumbrance, it's like, yeah, I'm putting it in that. Carry all the things.
Oh shit, that reminded me of something, a very small thing that I want to mention about Luigi's Mansion. Encumbrance reminded me of this helpfully.
Encumbrance. It's a great word though. I like the word encumbrance.
It's a funny situation of what I presume must be stock sound effects.
Oh right.
Because in Luigi's Mansion,
It's not like Doom doors.
not quite. In Luigi's Mansion, when he picks up Egad's briefcase as part of the mission, or if you bump into suitcases that are just in the environment, it makes a sound effect. And it's the exact same sound effect that they use in 7 Days to Die for looting suitcases.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm just like, that is just the most weird 2 different companies using that same sound effect that you could possibly imagine. You've got Nintendo with their Super Polish, and you've got 7 Days to Die, this indie zombie game. It's like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, holy shit, that's that sound effect.
Sometimes it's super noticeable. Like Bake Off using duck noises that are straight up the duck ringtone from iPhones.
That we should have heard about 15 minutes ago.
And it's like, they just overlaid that into the background, didn't they? Or that seagull noise from Carcassonne.
Yep.
That I hear sometimes in shows. Yeah. This is really annoying. Anyway, yeah, I know I've done my usual thing of being quite negative on a game, but
that's our usual thing.
But it's all right. No, it legitimately is okay. When it has good moments, it has good moments, and it's like some of the choices feel natural, or like you kind of know what you want to do. Some of the times the conversations don't play out as you expect. It's it's just one of those, right? It has all the ups and all the downs that you'd expect. And I think there was one moment where I was trying to play out be a sympathetic character towards one of these other characters I was talking to, and the conversation, he basically booted me out of the conversation at one point and just going, "You don't understand me at all." And I'm like, clearly I don't. You're right there. So like, however that guy was written, like I wasn't getting the vibe right. Stuff like that. It's the bit of me is wondering if I'd have a better time just being a complete idiot in that world and play the dumb character, shoot everyone I see. Because supposedly you could, right? Like
all the way to the cloud.
Yeah.
Use that radiant AI, except it's not that in this game, obviously.
There's I think I discovered it like, it must have been about 7-ish hours into the game. But there's a point where you can basically just turn in the scientist.
Right.
You can basically just say, screw my mission. I'm gonna like completely like.
Well, but you don't know whether that's what that would do yet, even.
The word is like from Obsidian themselves that does actually change quite a hefty chunk of the game. I imagine a lot of the side quests remain the same.
Although,
just visit areas, but the main line might change.
Well, but that's that's maybe like maybe hinting even more that this main story mission is actually not important. I mean, obviously it's fairly important. It will change a lot of stuff, but it can functionally be completely different.
Right.
So it's like maybe this whole thing is actually not as important as it seems.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, illusion of choice and all that.
Yeah.
It has. I think the things that I'm finding funny about the game, in terms of humor and writing and stuff, probably not the things they thought were funny, or what should be the main funny stuff. Like, I like the stuff around the edges more than I think I like the main stuff. Like, I don't know, the robots are kind of entertaining in that world. Like, just how straight and blunt they are, like, and how this weird chef robot at one point just is talking about your protein tubes. There's some good stuff in it. Or like some of the adverts you hear are pretty good as well. Like Rizzo's lemon slap your whole family tonight. You hear that every time. I'm just like, yep, we're gonna go slap no. Domestic abuse. This is what this game incites in you.
Great.
It's what they're selling you. It's it's odd. I don't think. I'm just trying to find ways of putting into words this thing. It's just like I don't think I'm getting from it what I expected, but it's all right.
No mysterious stranger though.
No mysterious stranger. They do that like sort of death camera randomly, like super rarely, but every now and then you'll get that like, oh hey, the camera will cut away from first person and you'll see the enemy
You
getting
shoot it.
shot. Well, I don't know if I've seen me in that camera
No.
angle. Like I don't know if it's specifically trying not to show me, but like it will occasionally go to a death cam, but it's like super rare.
Is it?
And I don't know what I'm doing to trigger it.
Yeah, is it like a thing that's caused by an effect or something, or is it just purely random for fun?
Yeah, I don't know. It's only, I think it seems to have happened more often when I've sniped a dude.
Sure. If that kind of makes sense.
And my sniper rifle has happened to kill them in one shot rather than doing some numbers.
Yes.
It's alright. It's alright. Worth playing. Thank you, Game Pass.
It's worth playing if you have Game Pass.
I think it's better than that. I think it's not like one of those where I can say like just like, oh, if you've got Game Pass, you might as well. And it's like, no, it's better than that.
Okay.
It is worthy of your time. And which you can have back because I'm done.
Okay.
Right.
They're fireworks near yours.
That didn't sound very much like a firework.
It was a firework. Indeed. We're getting them. It's that time
Not
of
the
year.
sound of tumbleweed.
You know how it is. Right. Great. Will there be more on Outer Worlds next time, I imagine, from you guys?
Oh yeah.
From you, Rob? Yeah. It's going to take a lot.
I have absolutely
doing.
no idea how far through this thing is. I hear it's like probably 30 hours minimum.
Yep.
Right.
It's not as short as I'd kind of. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how. Again, that's another thing I don't know quite how I feel about. I thought this was supposed to be like a tight Fallout, and it probably is in comparison to real Fallout.
Yep.
But it's still pretty big.
It's still an RPG. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm
So
15 odd hours in, something like that, and I probably got at least 3 times that to go. Is my snap judgment. I'm doing pretty much everything though.
Yeah.
I'm like completionisting as much as you can because it's not possible. You have to screw over some people to get some things. Can't make everyone happy, and that makes me unhappy. And
so more on the Outer Worlds next time in a couple of weeks, and we've got videos coming up on our YouTube channel.
Again, now that we've actually started making them.
yep, the holiday's over. Back
So
to
yeah,
Sonic Advance 2.
there'll be a burst in
Part 1.
activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the plan, but yeah, it's going to be multi-part Sonic Advance 2 video now.
So we're coming up to December, so there'll be more bonus content from the Saladcast. We're thinking about what to do for episode 256, although we can't seem to count the episodes, but never mind. That's our favourite number, so it's the 8-bit episode. So stay tuned for fun, and then we'll have Game of the Year at the very end of the year.
Or the start of next year, possibly.
Or the start of next year, probably. But in the meantime, you might get more cool stuff, so listen out, and there'll be those videos coming up. We'll catch you for a regularly scheduled Saladcast in a couple of weeks.
I thought you said Red Galili there.
Yeah,
regularly.
Regularly
scheduled.
I'm
Catch
going
you
to
then.
go pick myself some of my favourite Red Galili flowers.
Indeed.
Okay.
Bye.
Sweet.